This conference will now be recorded.
Good morning, everybody. I would like to say I'm so glad to see you all here. You all doesn't account for everybody just yet, but we do just now have a quorum, I think, and we're going to get started. And those that aren't here just yet will have to rewind and check the beginning of the video just a little bit. However, since we started at 10 o'clock, the video will be nicely indexed so that you know what you missed and how to get to it. Um, Everybody's been great about muting and unmuting their microphones, so I'll just skip this slide. And I haven't heard any reports of anybody not being able to hear or speak. If you do, though, a reminder that there's a phone number in the email that I sent you, and you can use that phone connection in addition to your computer connection. And between the two, see and hear everything that's going on. Over the next 5 lessons, we're going to model it, calc it, list it, coordinate it, and imagine the other things that we can do with Revit. A reminder: um, anything AutoCAD can do, Revit can do better. La la la. But it's going to be a lot easier to do it better if you have seen all of what it does and how it does it. So um, keep your attention hats on and buckle up. We've got a lot to cover today. So here's just a quick overview in pictures of where we're going. We're going to use a small medical facility, two-story office building with a sort of an emergency care area off one end and a big fancy lobby area off the other end. And we're going to um, model it, calc it, list it, coordinate it, and I left out very important, and this slide illustrates it. We're going to document it. We're going to create actual printable sheets that have all that information about that small medical facility design on the sheets. To get there, we're going to start today with modeling, and this is going to be a recurring theme. The background of the slides will be blue for a little while, then the background of the slides will be yellow, then they'll be green, and then they'll be pink. And across the bottom, I've got a reminder of where we are in that cycle. Um, I'm not. I think it's just good when you're doing 3 hours worth of stuff to have an idea where you came from, where you are, and where you're going. And if you wonder or just want a sort of a summary of where that's been, check those colors at the bottom. And those are the 4 major topics that we're going to cover today. I'm going to start with one-time setup. That's very similar to what we did in the basic class, but I want to make sure that everybody is aware of what it takes first time you use Revit of a particular version. Jason and I were talking just a little bit before class started about he had 2023 on his computer and he went for another project that he's working on and installed 2026. Each version of Revit that you have on your computer, and you shouldn't hesitate to have all versions of Revit on your computer, um, given that you've got the space for it. But they'll all live fine. The Hydratech commands all work fine for all of the versions. But each version deserves this setup stuff. So you've done it one time, but now you install a new Revit. You want to come back to this slide and say, have I done the one-time things for this version of Revit? Once we've got that out of the way, we're going to start a brand new project. I'm harping on being able to create projects using only AutoCAD backgrounds. So I have some AutoCAD backgrounds of this small medical facility, and we'll get started using those. Once I've done the ground floor design, I'm going to add a second floor and just do a few pipes on that second floor to show that you can have a multiple floor thing, even with flat as a pancake AutoCAD backgrounds. Then we're going to once we've got that set up, we're going to model that sprinkler system for the ground floor, just a few pipes for the second floor, and then ditch the AutoCAD, take the backgrounds out altogether, and not start over, but rewind and talk about what if the background had been a Revit link instead of an AutoCAD drawing. And we'll run through some of the special things for when the background is a Revit link. That'll get us modeling for today, and then we'll have some more modeling to talk about on Thursday, and we'll really get all these sheets built out on Thursday as well. So that's basically where we're heading. Let me go ahead and jump in. So one-time setup stuff. First thing you want to do is make it easier on yourself for starting any new project. I've sent out templates that you may or eventually will want to make adjustments to, but I gave you a template that has what you would kind of expect in an AutoCAD template. When you start an AutoCAD drawing, it's starting with a template. It's got layers defined, and it's got colors defined and line types defined. That kind of stuff is included in the template that we're gonna make our favorite. There's probably more stuff in the template than in an AutoCAD template, but first step is to get it so that that's your default when you start up. So I'm going to go ahead and start Revit 2023. You're welcome to start 24, 25, 26, whichever one you have or desire to use on your computer. And I'm going to rig it so that when I start a new project, it asks me what template do I want to use, and my favorite template is on that list. At the moment, I'm sorry that I didn't have Revit open, but at the same time, I wanted to give everybody a chance to get it open at the same time I'm getting it open. So Revit's open. If I say new, over here is models and families. New models is working on a project. You're going to work on a building and create that building. You can open or start a new one. Families, we're not going to use we're going to use, but we're not going to go open and create families. That's like if you wanted to create a chair family, or you wanted to create a sprinkler family, or you wanted to create a title block family. Those are things that get used in a project. And I just want to point out the difference in this opening screen. So I'm going to do new ... And right out of the box, you're going to have a different list than what shows up here. It's going to say something like default construction, default structural. That's what comes with Revit out of the box. And I want to adjust that so it's got an easy access to the HydroCAD templates and then later to your templates. So I just canceled that. And now I'm going to go up at the top here. There's a home, and that brings up the ribbons. And I'm going to click on File. And then in the lower right-hand corner of that File dialog box is Options. And in Options, I'm going to go to File Locations. And I want to make sure I'm keeping up with this thing. So set up default template. We're going to use File ... Options ... File Locations, and then pick the plus sign. And then we're going to go look for CHES, Hydrotech for Revit, Data Families. And I'm going to look for 2023, and you might look for 24, 25, or 26. And then in there, the install should have a Hydrotech Imperial 2024 1125. Let me click on the next slide. Once I bring that in there, it'll get added to the bottom of the list, and then I'm going to use the up arrow to move it to the top of the list. So back here, I'm going to go pick on that plus sign, and then I'm going to drive to CHES, Hydrotech for Revit, Data Families. And since I'm using 2023, I'm going to use 2023. And there's a number of templates in there, but the one that I want to use is this HydroCAD Imperial 2024 1125. So as you do updates, we may add new templates there. And you can see I'm putting the date on the template so that if you see 3 or 4 Hydrotech Imperial templates, you know to pick the latest one to get the latest and greatest. So I'm going to pick open on that, and that adds that to the bottom of the list. Since I had it in there a couple of times, it added it with a -2. I'm going to take that one that I just added and I'm going to use the up arrow to move it up to the top. And just because I've got it there a couple of times, I'm going to take that top one and just delete it. So I still have the 1125 at the top of my list. Any questions on that? I'm going to pick OK and go back to my slide. Question?
Can you start from the home screen again? Where
Yes.
you got that?
Okay. So originally I was on this screen. And way at the top is a little R and another home button. When I pick home, it gives me all the ribbons. Then I'm going to pick File. Then I'm going to pick Options. And then I went to File Locations, and I did the green plus sign. And then I dialed in C, HES, Hydrotech for Revit, data, families, and then the year. And then I found the one with the latest date, and I picked open. That put it on the bottom of the list, and then I took the one on the bottom of the list and I used the up arrow to get it to the top of the list. That get it for you?
Yeah. Yes. Just where from HES, where do you go? I'm sorry.
HES, Hydrotech for Revit.
Hydrotech for. Okay.
And then data. And then families.
Got it.
And then the year, and then that Hydrotech Imperial 2024 1125.
Got it. Thank you.
You bet. Thank you.
Alan, can you hear me?
I hear you. Go ahead.
I don't see that file. How do we get that? Did you sent us that?
It should be part of the install for Hydrotech for Revit. If you don't have it, you should have others with just not as late of a date. Do I speak the truth?
I already had HydroCAD installed, so I'm not sure. That's what you meant by the install?
Yes. Hydrotech for Revit had to be installed.
Okay, yeah, it was already on the desktop, so I don't know.
Okay. Pretty important stuff. Can I make you the presenter for a moment?
Sure.
That's Michael, yes? Or,
Yes.
yeah. I'm going to make you the presenter. And then you may have two screens. I want you to share not Revit. I want you to share a screen and the screen that you have Revit on. Perfect. Okay. So file locations, pick the plus sign, the green plus sign. Then where it says look in right now, it says workflows. Do that pull down and click on C. Yep. And then HES, Hydrotech for Revit, near the bottom. Then data. Then families. Then 2023. And at the bottom of the list there is metric. You don't want that one. In the middle of the list is HydroCAD Imperial 2024 1125. Down one right there,
Okay.
and open.
All
And
right,
then,
thank you.
um,
Sorry, go on.
yeah, since it's the only one on the list, there's no need to move it up. You can just pick OK, and you're back with everybody else there, Michael.
Okay, appreciate it.
You're most welcome. And I'm going to go make me the presenter again. And I don't see a request. Share my screen. What's up here? Sorry. We're getting there. Okay. So share my screen. And we're back. I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint and say, okay, so we added that thing and we put it at the top of the list. Next up is I want to check it. Al's number one rule of programming and number one rule of doing almost anything is if you don't check it, it don't work. So we're going to check it. This time I'm going to do file new. I'm going to start a project. You know the difference between a project and a family. A project is a whole building with a sprinkler system and everything else. A family is just one sprinkler or just one pipe or just one fitting. So we're going to start a new project, and I think I'm going to show the next slide while I'm at it. And after I start that new project, I'm just going to check for the ribbons and make sure that they are there. I'll come back and deal with what if they're not there. So back in Revit, I'm going to do File, New, Project. And because of our diligent work a moment ago, this template is at the top of our list. It's starting a project. I'm just going to pick OK. And if all goes well, I should see a couple of grid lines and a section line. And that's it. That's a blank project. There's nothing in there. But the next slide said, okay, if we've done that, we should see HydroCAD, HydroCalc, and HydroList. Is there anybody missing any of those ribbons? The pretty pink one, the beautiful blue one, and the gorgeous green one?
Al,
All right.
this is Nathan in Portland, Oregon. Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead, Nathan.
Yeah, I just want to let you know that we're having some network trouble here. I was able to get guest Wi-Fi and I can watch and listen, but I can't get Revit up. So I'll just be doing the best I can without it.
Fair enough. Thanks for the heads up, Nathan. Okay, so the next slide says, okay, we're going to verify that those are there. And if they're not, if you close Revit, you can open Windows File Explorer and you can explore to see HES Hydrotech for Revit programs. We were in CHES Hydrotech for Revit data a minute ago. And under programs, there's one that's called Hydrotech Revit Add-in Assistant. Right click on that and run as administrator. You'll get this little dialog box. You can pick add, apply, and then cancel out of that dialog box, reopen Revit, and those buttons will be there. So I'm proud of you all to have that 3 buttons, the pretty pink, the beautiful blue, and the gorgeous green one. But if when you open Revit 2026, if you don't have those, come back to this slide and be reminded how to get them to light up. Okay. Michael, maybe you could check for me. I'm in Revit and I'm going to click on the HydroCAD button and I'm going to hover over Add Device. So if you do that, Michael, does it come up with a little tooltip that says Add Device?
I'm still trying to open it. I'm a little
Um,
behind.
Okay, you're trying to start a new project, or you're still trying to open Revit?
Um, Start a new project. New project. Yeah, the template's not showing up. That was 2024, right?
Um, I thought it was 2023. If you
Yeah,
look,
I thought
if
that's
you
what I
look
thought
at
too.
very top of your the very top of your Revit session, it says Autodesk Revit 2020 something.
Um, I don't see that. I had 24 open. Well, when I started to open it, it was like upgrading, so I closed it out and opened 23. Maybe I'll try 24 again. But I guess to answer your question, I'm a little behind, so I don't know.
Okay, well, I'm going
All
to
right.
delay just a minute and check with um, with Rod. Can you hear me? No? How about Tom Hamway? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Cool. If and you have Revit 20, which version of Revit do you have open?
So I'm running 24. Yeah, and I was able to open up the 24 project. I do think that my HydroCAD, I'm actually same boat as Mike, where my HydroCAD was previously installed, so I actually don't have the most up-to-date fancy version of the template that you have. However, I am at the same step that you are.
I think that's going to be close enough, Tom. But tell me, if you go to the HydroCAD ribbon now,
Yep.
pick on the pretty pink, and hover over the Add Device button.
Mhm.
Do you get a tooltip like I do that says Add Device?
Yes, mine looks the same as yours.
Um, look extra close, Tom. Mine has parentheses AD parentheses after Add Device.
Mine does not have the
Aha.
shortcut.
So that's the purpose of our next slide, is to go get those shortcuts there for you. And that's, I make it part of the one-time setup. If you get them there, they'll just stay there. So I'm gonna go use that slide that says, if I typed AD, I would get that command to start up. If you typed AD, it would say, what? I don't know. If I type KS, that's the keyboard shortcut for keyboard shortcuts. And I'm going to go do that. And then we're going to import a whole bunch of shortcuts all at one time. And guess where they are? C, HES, Hydrotech for Revit, data, setup. So it's a recurring theme here, the C, HES, Hydrotech for Revit thing. So in Revit, I'm going to type KS on my keyboard, and this dialog box comes up. Does that happen for you too, Tom?
Yes, it does.
Okay, now if this is almost a waste of time because you don't need to do it, but I want you to be aware you could take any command, and there's over 400 of them, and find it in this list. Check this out. I'm dragging this bar down the side, and you can see how many commands are in there. You can take any command and you can assign a 2-letter character to it. I'm going to type add in the search, and look, there's add device. And if I clicked on add device, I could type AD and assign it. But if you were going to do that, Tom, you'd have to do that for like 40 or 50 Hydrotech buttons. Instead, what I'm going to do, rather than add them one at a time, I'm going to click on import ... Got it? And Tom, where are we going? You tell me.
We're going to go to C, HES, Hydrotech for Revit, data, and setup.
You were doing, yep, you got it. C, Hydrotech for Revit, data, setup. And there, I have 3 files in there. The I'm looking at the date, and the most recent dated one is in 2021. I'm going to click on that one and pick open. And here it's saying you might already have defined a bunch of keyboard shortcuts. Do you want this file to overwrite those, or do you want like just to take the new ones out of here? It's probably safe to assume you haven't changed a lot of those keyboard shortcuts. So it would be safe for you, Tom, to pick overwrite existing shortcuts. But I do remember in our survey that there was one person said they were they might be considered a macho stud propeller head Revit guy. And that person may have put a lot of keyboard shortcuts in there, and they might want to pick merge instead of overwrite. So I'm going to pick OK, and then I'm going to go back and hover over add device. Mine still says AD behind it. How about yours, Tom?
Yeah, mine says AD now.
Ah, such a deal. Okay. And just a reminder, once for each version of Revit. This is part of the one-time setup for a version of Revit. You don't have to go do it now, but if you notice the keyboard shortcuts are missing, come back to this video topic index, look for keyboard shortcuts, and you can be reminded of this conversation. Okay, let's click on to the next slide. And if you remember the keyboard shortcuts thing, that's good. If you don't, and you don't go back to that recording of today's lesson, you can also go to help videos and just type keyboard, and there will be some help for that. Let me do that. I'm going to go to HydroCAD. I'm going to go to the help pull down, and then I'm going to go to help videos. And then I'm going to type in keyboard. And that found two things. Both of them are PDFs. And I'm going to write a note. It seems like it could also, besides the PDFs, it could be kind to us and show a video of what we just did to get keyboard shortcuts. But shame on me. I've got a pen and no paper. Keyboard shortcuts. Sorry. But what is here is a graphic showing all the button locations, and then there's another one that's a list of all the shortcuts. I'm going to pick on view. And I'm going to log in. Oh, and I'm going to get stuck talking about motorcycles and motorcycle feet. And then I'm going to do bicycles, and I'm claiming those are bicycles. And I'm claiming they're just wanting to give me a hard time. Okay, I suspect that there are some of you that would like to download and print this out and have it close to your computer. It's a list of all the buttons that HydroCAD has. I think it's here twice, once in order alphabetically of the shortcuts, and once in order by their general function. So it's there when and if you ever want to get access to it. Okay, I think we're going to treat ourselves to another slide. So, I don't know if you noticed, but the slide background just changed from blue to yellow. So all that I'm going to tell you about one-time setup stuff, done. We're moving on to, we're starting a brand new project. Michael, have you had any chance to get a little bit caught up?
I did, yes. Everything that was I could go wrong was going wrong, but I'm all good now.
Okay. The good news, Michael, is that we're sort of we're done with our one-time setup. We are now in the process of, sort of starting from scratch, making a project. So you're not behind. You're not at all behind.
Nice.
We're at a great starting point. So this is a checklist. If you're going to start a new project, I'd like you to think about this checklist. It's open and verify each background that you're going to use. It's probably been years since you drew the walls and the steel and the doors and the windows and all of that. You always get a background and then start drawing your sprinkler system on top of that. And in my checklist, I'm saying the first thing you want to do has nothing to do with sprinklers. It has everything to do with what did you get from the architect? Open it up and see what he gave you before you try and use it. That's step one. Step two is start a new project using the template that we just set up. Step three is link that background, whether it's an AutoCAD background or a Revit background. You're going to bring that into your project. And then you're going to create some working views. And I think this create some working views is the thing that's the most different from your AutoCAD workflow. In AutoCAD, you insert the AutoCAD background and then you start schwacking away and erasing excess stuff and drawing sprinklers. In Revit, you're going to have, particularly if you've brought in a Revit model, you've got an entire building, all 6 stories of the entire building. Before you start drawing sprinkler systems, you've got to go make a view of the first floor, take a slice of that 6 stories and crop it down to be just the building. You don't want the parking lot, and then turn layers on and off to get the walls, but not the toilets. Those are the 3 things: slicing, dicing, and categorizing. That forms a view. And you want to make a first floor view and a second floor view and a third floor view and a fourth floor view. Then you can start schwacking away making the sprinkler system. So that's the checklist. Go see what you got to use. Go start a brand new project, empty. Bring that thing in that you just looked at and know what it is, and then create some views that show that in bite-sized pieces that you want to work on your sprinkler system with. So very, very important. We're going to revisit this when we get down to the pink slides. We're going to sort of start over thinking about a new project using a Revit background, and the checklist is exactly the same. Instead of opening the AutoCAD backgrounds, we're going to open and verify the Revit links. But then we're going to start a project. We're going to link that AutoCAD background or the Revit background, and then we're going to create some views. All right. So I'm going to open and verify each of the backgrounds. I sent a zip file with an HES folder, and if you copied that to your C drive, you have an HES folder with class files in it, and the class files includes a file for the AutoCAD backgrounds. And I'm going to, I guess, use Windows File Explorer, and I'm going to go to C, HES, and this time not Hydratech for Revit, but online training, online intermediate training. And in online intermediate training is AutoCAD backgrounds. And in the backgrounds, there's a ground floor DWG, a second floor DWG, a section through lower building DWG. Of those 3, Tom, which one would you start with to take a look at? Ground floor, second floor, or section?
I'm probably going to be on ground floor.
I like that. So I'm just going to double click on that. I discourage this double clicking thing when you're using Revit, because I'm encouraging you to have Revit 23, 24, 25, 26. When you just double click a file, it says, oh, I got to open with Revit. And he kind of decides which version of Revit. I'm recommending that you open Revit, the version of Revit first, and then go find the file and open it. But I'm going to sort of not follow my own rule for the AutoCAD drawings and just let AutoCAD pick one and open it. That's a HydroCAD prompt that I got. And this is probably one of the cleanest AutoCAD drawings you'll ever see. This is a ground floor, and I see some offices. This thing is actually the lower level, and it's a different height than all the right half of this thing. But I see that there's ceiling tiles and there's light fixtures, almost enough stuff here for me to at least get started laying out a sprinkler system for the ground floor. I'm going to go back to File, Open, and mine started in CHES Basic Training. I'm going to go to CHES Intermediate Training and AutoCAD Backgrounds. And we've opened the ground floor. Let me open the second floor. Okay, and it's not as big. That section of the building over here on the left is 1 story tall, and the whole rest of the building is 2 stories tall. So my second floor drawing's a little bit smaller footprint than the ground floor. Similarly, I could say File, Open, and I won't do every one of them, but there's a section I see in the thumbnail that's like through the stairway, and there's a section looking north, so that's the long way looking through the building. There's that lower level on the left side, the 2-story building in the middle, and the tall lobby on the right. So you get the idea, and I'm going to go click through the next couple of slides and say I've done that. There is, and I think I'll point it out. One more key piece of information you want to get out of the background drawings that you're looking at. So we're going to open the ground floor, then we'll open the second floor. Then there are building sections. And the building section has some key information in it that's different in Revit. AutoCAD, you just put things in and they're laying flat on the floor, and you create your building sort of based off that flat on the floor thing. In Revit, there's an actual 3D model, and it's located X and Y and Z. And it's important that our project sort of has the same starting Z as the project we're bringing in. So I'm going to open that section view in AutoCAD, and I'm going to pay attention to what the level of the ground floor is, so that I can set my level at that same thing. By default, could be 0, and you could luck out, but it's important to look and check that. And then I've got another thing that says check each working level. So there's a ground floor that's at 100 feet, and there's a second floor that's at 113 feet 4. And then that lower level, I'm doing a good job of pointing at it, but I can't say it's brutally clear here. But that lower level is at 98 foot 4, so 1 foot 8 lower than the ground floor. So armed with that information, I'm going to say I did look at those. I only looked at the thumbnail for the building section, but I do have a printout here for you to see the important dimensions. And if you've got a pencil and paper handy, you might want to just jot them down. Ground floor 100 feet, second floor 113.4, and lower level 98 foot 4. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and dismiss AutoCAD. And I'm not going to save anything. I just wanted to see what was in there. But a reminder, if you open that up, the AutoCAD background, and it's got all kinds of toilets in it, feel free to turn them off or delete them. When you bring it into Revit, it's going to be showing the stuff that's in that file. That's a big part of why I say open and verify that stuff. All right, then we're going to start a new project, and we're going to use the default HydroCAD template. Okay, Michael, you're up now. I'm not going to make you share or anything, but I'm going to start that over. I'm going to close what I was working on before, and I'm going to do new under model. And Michael, is your template showing up now?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, and there was much rejoicing. So we're just going to use that template and pick OK. So use the template. Next step is copy the toolbox. I'm going to talk about this just a little bit more, but I'm going to get the process started because it takes about a minute and a half. So over here, I started a new project. The project has got lots of stuff in it. Over here on the project browser, I'm going to open up schedules, and I'm just going to point out as an example. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 schedules that came as part of the template. But since the template was made, more schedules have been made, and the toolbox is the holder for that extra information. So I'm going to go to Hydratech, Help Pull Down, Import from the latest toolbox. And this may go faster on my computer because I've used this tool many times. If this is the first time you've used this tool on this version of Revit, you'll be stuck waiting a little bit longer because it's going to do this. It's going to look on your computer and say, what's on my computer, on my hard drive for a toolbox? And then it's going to look in the cloud and say, what's the latest toolbox that Hydratech has published? And it's going to say, oh, they're not the same. So I'm going to copy the one from the cloud to my computer. Then in all likelihood, I'm going to upgrade it from 2020 to the version of Revit that I'm using. And then I'm going to save it. So the next time I use this toolbox button, I don't have to do that again. I just say, yeah, I've got the latest one in the right version. And that brings up this dialog box that says, what would you like to get out of the toolbox? I pointed to schedules over here, and I'm just going to point out schedules is one of the things I can get from the toolbox. If I use this little caret, I can see there's lots of schedules that I can get from the toolbox. So I could spend a lot of time saying, I want this annotation, and I want that group, and I want that view template. And I finally talked the programming staff into just pick a button that says, man, if it's in there, I want it. So I'm clicking on the select all, and that's going to bring everything in. I would like to point out one or two other things to you just before I go ahead and pick OK. When you open the toolbox, you say, I wonder if there's anything new and exciting in there. If you click on revisions, this is a list of the new and exciting things that we've done to the toolbox over the last 10 years or something. 2022, 21, 18, 17, so not 8 years. But most recently, we created a fitting description tag to label fittings using their description. So I can just click on a fitting and it'll tell me the description of that fitting. If I say, that's interesting, I wonder what that's about, you can click on video. And mine might make some noise and you won't hear it. Nope. Okay, sorry you didn't hear that. It's kind of fun. If you click on it, you'll hear it. But that particular one was just a brief discussion, so it didn't really need a video. Typically, the videos are 2 to 10 or 15 minutes. So not only what's there, but how it works. I'm going to close that. I'm going to make sure I've picked select all. There's 3 buttons down here. I'm going to describe while this is running, but I'm just going to leave it on ignore and hit continue. So the three buttons down at the bottom are ignore, overwrite, or duplicate. So it's possible your project already has some of the things that are in the toolbox. Ignore says, I already have one, I need another one. Let's see, I think somebody's got their mic open. Michael, that might be you.
Oh, I apologize.
No worries. And make sure you know where that mute unmute is, because I love calling on you and I love hearing your response. But during the video, it's cleaner if we keep them muted. So it's loading. I think it's already loaded the toolbox, but now it's loading all of those pieces of the toolbox from it into this project. And as a result, because it loaded any schedules, the last schedule that gets loaded into this happens to open. I'm just going to pick on the X to get rid of that extra tab. But you can see I had a half a dozen schedules, and now I've got 24 schedules. And it's way faster for me anyway, to just say, hey, if Al thought it was a good idea, go ahead and put it in my project. I'm hesitant to go into this conversation, but I'm going to say many of you are previous AutoCAD users, and the measure of performance of an AutoCAD file was its size. And I'll just say it's the reverse of it, or that doesn't count anymore. Revit only addresses that part of the file that you're asking for. So in a 10-story building, if you open the second floor, it's accessing the second floor part of that file. In AutoCAD, it always tries to unpack the entire file into memory. And if you get a file that's a gigabyte big or something, it'll just blow its mind and crash on the way into opening AutoCAD. In Revit, it doesn't open any of that gigabyte. It waits for you to say, I'm interested in the second floor, and it opens only the second floor part of that file. So just a warning, AutoCAD file size bad. Revit doesn't really matter a lot. So don't be concerned by a really large file size in Revit. It's to be expected. Hope I'm not getting too far off the subject here. So we're starting a new project in AutoCAD. First thing we did was we started the project, then we started it with a template, then we copied the toolbox in. Next thing I'm going to do is a save as, and I'm going to put it in that HES Revit Online Intermediate Training, and I'm going to call it 1 SMF Lesson 1 AGJ 2023. So I'm going to put my initials in the AAA place, and I'm going to put the version of Revit that I'm using at the end there. That that'll make it easier for me later. If I go to open that file, I'll know which version of Revit to open before I open that file. So over here, I'm going to do File, Save As, and then I'm going to save it as a project. And I'm going to go to CHES Online Intermediate Training, and I'm going to call it 1 SMF Lesson 1 AGJ 2023. I put one there last night so I didn't have to type it again. I type so slow. So I'm going to write over that with this thing that I'm using here. All right. Now I'm going to use a section or an elevation view to put something that exists in Revit that it's hard to find a companion for in AutoCAD. You just always draw stuff with a Z coordinate, and in Revit we create levels, and the Z coordinates are typically measured off of those levels. So I'm going to go to the section view, find my level 1, and because the AutoCAD backgrounds are starting 100, I'm going to make my level 1 start at 100. And then I'm going to copy that level up 13. I've got some 13'4" to get my second floor at 113'4". Let me go do that. I'm going to switch over here. I have a section view, and there are 3 ways to get to a section view. If it's not selected, you can just double click on that bubble and it'll take you to that section view. If it's selected, so I'm just clicking on it to select it, I can right click and say go to view. That's 2 different ways to get to the same view. And then the third way is to look in this project browser. So the project browser has a list of views, and in that list of views, there's some views for fire protection, and the fire protection views include sections, and there's only one section so far, so I can find it in the project browser and double click it on it there. So 3 ways: double click the bubble, click, right click, go to view, or find it in the project browser and double click it there. So you see it opened another tab. And I can switch back and forth. There's my floor plan, there's my section view. And there's column A, which was in the floor plan, column A, and the section line goes through that. And there's the working level. I'm going to go over here and I'm going to call that, I'm going to change it. I'm going to change it from level 1 to ground floor. And I mashed the caps lock. All right, so I changed the name. Question? Go ahead.
Well, I don't want to hold anybody back. My computer froze. I have to restart Revit. I don't have a level tag on there. Did I miss how to add that?
It came with the template. When you open
Okay,
the
I double clicked section 1 and now I have it. Sorry.
There you go. Okay,
Yep.
great. All right, and I'm going to change the elevation from 0 to 100. And I'm zooming out, you see it moved up 100 feet. And if I look, column A was only tall enough for where the section used to be, where the level 1 used to be. I'm going to take level A, and I could make it longer by clicking on that little round dot, or if I hover over it, you see the 4-way arrow, that means move it, so I could just move it up. So now grid line A is tall enough or high enough to show up on the ground floor. While I'm here, I'm going to take the ground floor level. There's a level, and I'm going to, when I click on it, the modify ribbon comes up, and on the modify ribbon is a 4-way arrow that says move. Next to it is 2 circles, copy. I'm going to pick copy. I'm going to, like Simon says, I'm going to pick a point, any point. I'm going to point straight up, and I'm going to type 13 space 4. Revit measures lengths in feet. So 13 is 13 feet. In AutoCAD, it's 13 inches. And if the shorthand for 13-foot sign, minus sign, 4-inch sign is just 13 space 4. And that gave me, I'm going to escape. It gave me a level 2 at 113'4". And I'm going to go change the name by clicking on level 2. I'm going to change the name to second floor. All right. So I have 2 levels in my project. My column A is pretty nearly tall enough to show both of them. I think I'm going to make column A a little bit taller. And now if I go back to the floor plan, Tom, would you hazard a guess why my floor plan shows column A and it doesn't show column 1 anymore?
Is it because it is out of plane?
Yeah, it's short. A was short and we moved it up, but we didn't see 1. We didn't move it up. So it's probably still wallowing down there around 0. I'm going to create a section, and across the top, these little tiny buttons across the top are called the quick access toolbar. They have buttons on them that you use all the time. You don't want to have to dial into a menu or a ribbon to go find them. And one of those buttons looks like a section bubble. And I'm going to click on that section bubble, and then I'm going to pick 2 points parallel to column A, and I'm going to make the depth of that sort of the width of what I've got going on here. And having done that, I've got 3 ways to go find that section. I can find it in the project browser, I can double click on the bubble, or I could click on the bubble and right click on it. Now in this view, I can see the ground floor, and I can see my grid line 1 wallowing it down there at 0. I'm going to take that box that crops what I can see and make it big enough so I can see this stuff better. And then I'm going to take and click on column 1. I'm going to see that 4-way arrow, and I'm going to drag it up. And it's not really, I should drag it straight up, but it's not really critical because I haven't really drawn anything at column A or column 1. And now if I go back to the floor plan, voila, there's column 1, there's column A, there's section 1, and there's section 2. Have I made myself happy with this slide? I think so. I'm going to go on to, fine, I don't have anything cool going on yet. I need a building. So the next thing is I'm going to insert, link or insert an AutoCAD background. There's nothing more analogous between Revit and AutoCAD than this particular process that says link or insert. In AutoCAD, you can insert a block and explode it, or you can externally reference that drawing. Externally reference in AutoCAD is link in Revit. Insert and explode in AutoCAD is import CAD and explode in Revit. And I'm going to strongly recommend you always do the link thing so that you keep all the noise in the AutoCAD drawing together. You don't want it to be 1,000 lines that you have to chase down. Okay, so we're going to link the AutoCAD background. Before we do, we're going to make sure we're on a plan view that's at the start level. So my ground floor is at 100. I want to be in a plan view that starts at 100. And I think I am, but I'm going to double check it. Yep, I'm in this fire protection. If I wanted to be sure that I was on the ground floor, I could make another view. Right now I only have one floor plan, and I'm going to go make a second floor plan called the ground floor. So I'm going to go to View, and I'm going to go to Plan Views, and I'm going to create a floor plan. And it only wants to create a floor plan for the second floor because there already is one. It's called fire protection, but there already is one for the ground floor. If I uncheck this button, it says, here are the levels that you've got in your project. You can create a plan view for each of those levels. Let me go ahead and click both of those. So I have ground floor and second floor, and I'm going to pick OK. Pay attention over here in the project browser. Under floor plans, I've currently got just fire protection floor plan. But now I've got 3 views. I've got a ground floor, and I've got a second floor, and I've got a fire protection floor plan. I'm going to go to the ground floor being convinced that that plan view is starting at 100 feet, like my building. Okay, now I'm going to link the AutoCAD background, and it's at the start level of 100, and that's on the insert ribbon. Import's the one I'm recommending against. That's like insert CAD, and link is like external reference. So I'm going to link a CAD drawing, and I'm going to go find HES, training files, and then the ground AutoCAD drawings, ground floor. there's a thing that says align according, align that's origin to our origin. And I'm going to leave that checked. And there's a way to make that insert, that link, unique to this view, but I want it available in any view. So I'm not going to check that one that says current view only. So back to Revit, I'm going to go to the insert ribbon, and I'm going to click link CAD, and then I'm going to drive to CHES Revit Online Training, AutoCAD Backgrounds, and there's the ground floor, and I'm leaving that unchecked, and I'm saying origin to origin. Where did it go? I'm just gonna roll my wheel backwards and zoom out. So it didn't come in where my column A and my column 1 was. That shouldn't be a huge surprise. But Tom, to get those lined up, I'm saying I could move that AutoCAD drawing up to my A1, or I could move my A1 down to the AutoCAD drawing. Do you think one might be better than the other?
Yeah, I would imagine. My guess is you'd move the AutoCAD drawing up.
Good guess. I wouldn't do that. The reason I want to move either one works, Tom, so it's not a wrong answer. But if I move my grid lines down to the AutoCAD drawing, I have a much, much better chance of lining up with everybody else if we try and do coordination. Does that make sense?
Yes.
If I move that drawing, then it's less likely. It's like I'm taking that drawing and putting it in some arbitrary place that I made up. If I move my grid lines down there, I'm sort of using my best guess as to where everybody else is. So I'm going to pick a window around both of those section lines and both of those grid lines. And I'm going to use the modify ribbon. There's a words under this group of buttons called modify. That's a panel. And I'm going to click on the move button. And then I'm going to zoom in real close. And I don't have to say intersection. It guesses there's 2 lines, so it picks an intersection. And I'm going to move from there. I've got to be careful. In AutoCAD, there's a command line, and it gives you some options on the command line. In Revit, they moved the command line to this green bar underneath the buttons. It's called the options bar. And if it said constrain, that would be the equivalent of ortho. So I would be moving it orthogonally, and I couldn't go in 2 directions at the same time. So I'm going to make sure I'm not constrained. And then I'm going to go find two column lines. I got to zoom in pretty close on an AutoCAD drawing. And there's an intersection. And now my column line A lines up with their column line A. And my column line 1 lines up with their column line 1-1. So I'm going to click on the thing that says 1, and I'm going to change it to say 1-1.
You show real quick where you got the file again? I was trying to follow.
Yes. So I did link CAD, and then I went to CHES, Revit Online Intermediate Training, then AutoCAD Backgrounds. And then I found the ground floor drawing. And the defaults were okay. So I clicked on it, and then I picked open.
So if it's not there in the file, it means I haven't downloaded it.
That's what it sounds like. You downloaded the zip file this morning, I'm going to presume. If you open the zip file, yeah, I think I've got it in my downloads. Yeah, this is the file that I sent. If you download it, it's just a zip file. Then you have to click to open that zip file. And then in there is HES. And I mean to take HES and drag it to the C drive. Can I find, here's my C drive. So I'm going to take that thing and drag it to the C drive.
Yeah, I have a couple questions about that.
Yep, go ahead.
First, does it have to be the C drive, or is that just what you like to put this?
Say again, Michael. First,
Does it
does it
have to
have
be the C drive?
No, it doesn't have to be the C drive. If you drag that to a network drive, I'm just going to make up a letter Q. If you drag it to the Q drive, that's fine. But then every time you hear me say, look for this file on C, HES, blah, 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 you're going to look in Q, HES.
Okay. And then my second question, I noticed you did not check the current view only box.
Correct.
Okay.
And I didn't, and I'll further explain that. Now that I've inserted that thing, if I go to one of the sections, do you see the little green and blue line there? That's that drawing looking from the side. It's just a whole bunch of lines at level 100. If I create a 3D view, I think I have a 3D view here. I'm going to open the 3D view. Do you see I've got that drawing isometrically flat as a pancake in this 3D view? If I had said this view only, then I wouldn't see it here in the 3D view and I wouldn't see it in that section view.
Okay, that makes sense. And my last question.
Yep.
There were Revit files too. Was there a reason we did the CAD versus the Revit?
Yes. We're going to do both. We're going to come back later and we're going to use the Revit files. But I made a comment earlier, but not everybody was here. When I asked the question, the survey question, what's your plan for expectations for using this class material? I was blown away. 100% of you said, I want to use this on every project I ever do from now on. It did my heart good. But what's the chance that every project you ever do from now on comes with a Revit background?
Right.
Pretty slim. So I'm saying, let me drive it home. You get an AutoCAD background, you can use the AutoCAD background. You get a Revit background, I'll show you how to use the Revit background. But I wanted to start off by saying, look, you don't need no stinking Revit background. You can use this tool on absolutely everything.
And last question, why did we change the ground floor to 100 versus just 0?
If I hadn't, then if I had to coordinate with a bunch of other people and I did all my work without moving that to 100, and then I sent them my sprinkler system and I said, here, put this in your building, it would be buried way deep in the basement. They'd all be at 100 and I'd be at 0.
Okay.
That didn't sound like a really convincing argument to you.
No, that makes sense.
And for the same reason, I moved our grid lines to line up with this instead of moving this to line up with the grid lines. I'm doing my best to preserve that I'm drawing in this building where it is, not where I'm making it up.
Okay.
And you know, there's lots of projects where you're not asked to do 3D coordination and stuff, but I want to instill that habit of when we are, it's not special. We're just doing the same thing we always do. All right.
Okay. Makes sense. Thank you.
You bet. So we've linked that. I skipped this step. I used move and I picked our grid lines and I moved them to a different intersection, and then I would have changed the names accordingly. But I just want grid lines that line up with their grid lines. And then finally, we're going to make some working views, and I've got a list of some working views that we're going to do. Let me spend a minute on that. So far, so good. We've got 75 slides to get through today, and we're on slide 27, and we're about a third of the way in. So far, so good. I'll just keep going. So we've got a ground floor plan. We've got a second floor plan that we've made already over here, ground floor and second floor. We've already created a couple of sections. This is just different ways of looking at the building, where we've got some recollection of the thumbnails of the sections that were available. One of them was through the stairway. So I'm proposing we're going to create another section. It'll probably wind up being section 3, but when I create that section, it's going to cut through the building looking at this stairway, and then I've got an AutoCAD drawing that is a section cut through the building looking at that stairway. So let me click another slide that says we're going to add that AutoCAD background. So I haven't created that section. Let me do that, and then I'm going to add this AutoCAD background. So over here, I'm going to click on that quick access toolbar. So all the tiny little pictures way at the top are buttons you use more than the others. And one of them, without switching ribbons or anything, is a section line. And a section line just requires 2 points. I'm clicking a point and I'm clicking another point. And it created a section line. And I think by the bubble, you can see that that section is looking to the right. There's a little two-way arrow there that changes it. So now that section line is looking to the left, and it's looking this wide according to these two little arrows, and these two little arrows determine how wide, and then these two arrows on the parallel to the section line itself determine how deep the section is looking. So those are the sort of the grips. I guess there's a couple of other grips I'll point out, and I'll talk about them even more later. There's a grip for the bubble, where the bubble is located, and there's a grip for the tail, where the tail is located. And I'll talk a little bit more about those circle ones later. Fine, I've got a section. I can get to the section. I can get to the section by double-clicking the bubble, clicking on it, right-clicking, and say go to view, or I can find it here, section 3. I can find it in the project browser and double-click it there. So I'm going to go to view, and this is not a very impressive section. It's at column line 1, there's ground floor, and there's second floor. Not an impressive section because I only have AutoCAD backgrounds, and you can see some green and some yellow. That's the AutoCAD drawing that we have, but it's flat as a pancake at the ground floor. What I am going to do, according to the slide, is go add. I'm going to insert another CAD drawing, but this CAD drawing is going to be for the section that goes through the stairs. So over here, I'm going to say insert. That's the insert ribbon. And then I'm going to link CAD again. But this time I'm going to link the SMF section through lower building looking west. And in the thumbnail, I can see it's got that stairway in it. But this time, I don't want that creating stray lines in the plan view. So I'm going to say this section, I only care about seeing that in this view, in this particular view. So I'm going to click that current view only, and then I'm going to pick open. And it's magic. It's magic, and it's not likely to happen again. My column 1-1 lined up with their column 1-1. my second floor lined up with their second floor. But if magic hadn't just happened, I would this time, Tom, I would move the section to line up with my grid lines because that's just like an auxiliary view, not the primary view. Okay, let's stick to the plan. Then we're going to add additional levels. I'm going to take a pass on this. I did this before. I clicked on ground floor. I said copy, and I started any place and pushed north and typed 13'4", and that got me that second floor. I renamed it to second floor, and then I can create plan views for the new levels, and I already created that second floor. I skipped ahead before and created that second floor view. Now, if I go and check that out,
Yeah, Alan,
go ahead.
quick question. So you added that, you linked that view while in the section, correct?
Say it once more. I did what?
You linked that that CAD section view while you were in the Revit section view?
Yes. And I said, and only put that AutoCAD drawing in this view. So I showed you before the 3D view. You see the 3D view has got this floor plan, but it's not showing the section.
Right.
And I'm tempted and maybe tempted beyond what I should, but I'm going to take that AutoCAD, that latest AutoCAD thing, and delete it. I'm going to go back to Insert. I'm going to go to Manage Links, and I'm going to go to CAD Formats, and there's that section that I just loaded. You don't have to keep up with this. I'm doing this to like illustrate this current view only or not. So I'm going to delete that. And now my section is missing it. I'm going to go back to Import or Link CAD. I'm going to link that section, and I'm going to not do current view. And I'm going to say open, and none of the elements are visible in the section. You may want to check something. Let me look at the 3D view. Okay, so I'd have to move it find it and move it. But
Right.
you see, it's not just in the section view, it's in this view also. So I'm going to Control Z to get that back.
So my last question, does that section need to be in a specific application or just looking west in the general area?
I'm going to say the AutoCAD background. I kind of knew from opening and investigating what AutoCAD drawings I had, that section was through that stairwell. The stairwell between column 2, 3 and 1, 3, 2, 3 and 2, 2. So I knew that's where that section was. So I drew this section to be through the building, including that's the stairway that's showing up in that section. So I have a Revit section of my 3D model, and I put a 2D AutoCAD drawing that kind of represents what's going on where that section line is. Similarly, there's another section. I think I'm missing. I'm going to do this section over. Section line through the whole building. There. If I go to this section, that's through the whole building looking north. If I insert a link CAD, this view only, looking north, there's a section of the whole building, through the building looking north. And now this AutoCAD section lines up with where I drew that section line. Does that bring it home at all?
Yep, thank you.
You bet. Okay, so create plan views for the new levels. We did that. We did view, floor plan views, floor plans. There were none in the list because we've used them all up. I could make copies of them or additional ones of them. Right now I have a ground floor and a second floor. If I say make me some new ones, it made a ground floor one and a second floor one. So it's making views based on those floors. And I don't know, that's going to clutter things. I'm going to go ahead and delete those views. This is something that in AutoCAD you would cringe at. Delete a view? Oh my gosh, I spent all that time drawing that stuff and now you're deleting it. It's a difference between AutoCAD and Revit. In AutoCAD, you're always drawing in model space and you're always seeing all the stuff that you've drawn. In Revit, you can draw in a variety of views, kind of like drawing in paper space. But then you can create or delete views at will. You're not creating or deleting stuff. You're not getting rid of walls or inserts or any of that. You're getting rid of the definition of the view. And the definition of the view is the entire everything that exists in your project except what is sliced by the view range. So what's sliced out, what's diced out by the cropping of the view, and what's categorized out by turning layers on and off, by setting which layers are on and which layers are off. So a view is everything except what's sliced, diced, and categorized out. I'm going to be using that a little bit more in the future, but I think I'm going to try and stick to the slides here to keep us in flow. So we created additional plan views and they showed up. I showed you a second ago. They showed up in the in the project browser. Okay, wait for it. Ta-da, we're on to the green slides. So we have done our one-time setup and we've created a place to work on a new project. And we created that place so far using AutoCAD backgrounds. Go ahead.
So I've got the ground floor all set up, but my second floor just shows the ground floor still. Is that how everybody is at this point?
I'll bet you it is, but that's a really good comment. And I don't mind maybe backing up to that for just a second. So I've got a ground floor and then I've got a second floor. Now my second floor happens not to be showing the ground floor stuff. It sounds like yours is showing, Mike.
So I think I know why now. I didn't set the level, I'm guessing.
That I'm not sure of that. I think that's an easy enough thing to check. If I click on second floor, this is the properties for the second floor. You see floor plan, second floor.
Yes.
This is a list of properties for that. And there's a place that it says, I don't go hunting it all that often, so I'm not finding it as, oh, no, the view name is that, the view range is that. Scale, I thought I would know what the level is that it's associated with. I'm going to find that in the view range. But this goes to what I was just yapping about. Every view is everything in your project, sliced, diced, and visualized out. I'm going to take a minute and talk about that. The slicing is this view range. I'm going to click on view range, and it says the most important part of the view range is this is everything in your model from a bottom of second floor starting 0 feet above the second floor to second floor going 30 feet above the second floor. Well, actually, the second floor only goes up 13 foot 4 from the second floor. So I'm going to change the top. So I'm taking a slice of my entire building from the second floor to 13'4" above the second floor. The other two things here, I want to make easy for now and say the cut plane is between the bottom and the top. You see it's listed above the bottom and below the top, and it has to be a number between 0 and 13'4". 4 feet is the usual thing. It's if there are walls, what do the walls look like at 4 feet above the floor? What do the doors look like at 4 feet above the floor? What do the windows look like at 4 feet above the floor? Because those are built into the walls, and how I show the walls at 4 feet then determines whether I see the doors or not, or the windows or not. It's secondary to make sure all the stuff you want to see is between the top and the bottom. Then this is the most confusing. It's almost like they put this there to confuse us. If it wasn't there, we would be a long time missing it. But this view depth says, in a plan view where I'm looking down at my model, how far below the bottom would I like to see other stuff? In our case, there's times we want to see the underground pipe. We're on the ground floor, which starts at 0 and goes up to 13'4", but I still want to see the underground, which is 10 feet below that. Generally speaking, you want the view depth to equal the bottom for a floor plan. So I'm going to make the bottom be second floor 0, and I'm going to make the level be second floor 0. Okay, so I set the view depth. I need to crop the view, and I'm still in the properties for that view, and I'm going to the cropping. I'm turning the cropping on, and I'm turning this box is the crop region, and it makes it smaller or bigger. I probably want to do this again after I've got a background in here so I know how big to make it, but that's the slicing. The dicing is the cropping, and then lastly is the layers that are on and off. And in Revit, the layers are called categories. And I don't think in this class I've bragged about this yet. This is visibility graphics overrides. And if I click on edit, there's a list of categories here. These things are all categories. Okay, Revit calls them categories and AutoCAD calls them layers. They're close enough that I'm going to say one equals the other. A purist would argue with me, but I think it serves our purpose to say these are the layer names. The really, really cool thing is they are always the layer names. The architect cannot screw with this. Every architectural Revit model uses these layers. He can't add and or delete from here. He can turn them on and off, and that's it. Way, way better than AutoCAD, where every drawing has got a brand new set of 5,000 layers that you've got to start figuring out who's what. This one, you're going to know ahead of time what the layers are. These are AutoCAD, no, these are Revit objects. So if I turn off the walls, that is unlikely to turn off the walls in this Revit background. Right now I don't have a Revit. I'm skipping ahead. I apologize, but this isn't making any sense without some context. So let me go ahead and insert a Revit link, a CAD link. And I'm going to put in the second floor. I'm going to put in the second floor. I'm not going to make it the current view only, and I'm going to open it. And here's my column A and my column 1-1. It doesn't line up with any of these, but it does line up with the column A and column 1 of this building. So I'm not upset by that. And now if I go to crop it, I know what to crop it to. This is the second floor that we're working on, smaller than the ground floor. Okay, but you saw me turn off the layer for the walls, but the walls are still there. They're part of the AutoCAD link. They're not part of the Revit walls. So they're two different things. These are lines, they're not walls. And I'm going to leave it at that, I think, for now. I'm going to still crop the view, but I'm going to turn that box off. I'm going to go back to the ground floor. Are you seeing double, James, on my screen?
Yep, I'm seeing that on your screen. Yes.
That goes to that. I'm in the ground floor view now, and I've got to pay attention to those three things again: the view range, the cropping, and the categories. So the view range for this floor wants to be 0 above ground floor and 13'4" above the ground floor is the top. I'm still going to cut it at 4 feet, and I'm still going to not look below the ground. And now I'm not seeing double anymore.
Yeah, so I still have, well, it's funny, I just changed those and now my first floor plan's gone, but my second floor is still showing the first floor, even though
Okay.
I adjusted my range.
Let's be careful then, and just do a quick redo. Go to
I don't want to hold anybody else up here, so.
well, you're gonna need the ground floor to show the ground floor.
Yeah, I have that.
Okay, then you're good for now, and we'll revisit the second floor thing when we get there in a little bit.
Okay.
So long as the ground floor is showing the ground floor, we're good.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Okie doke.
Alan, what was the top level set to elevation?
In both cases, it's the current level, 0 is the bottom. Current level plus 13'4" is the top.
Okay.
I think the quick answer to your question is 13'4".
Yep, that's what I thought. Thank you.
You bet. Okay, so we have switched. We're in the green slides now. So we're not starting first time ever stuff in Revit. We're not setting up our project. Our project is set up. We're getting down to the nitty gritty of actually creating a sprinkler system. And I'm going to create the sprinkler system a couple of different ways, and I will need to come back and show you more cool stuff about creating pipes and fittings and connecting them in various ways. But for now, I want to just plain stick a sprinkler in the plan view and then copy it around and put more sprinklers in. Very, very similar to the scheme that you use, the workflow you use in AutoCAD. But then I'm going to use another tool that says, oh, but rather than one at a time, I want to put sprinklers in a room at a time and have it find the center of tile for me in the room. So I'm going to rewind and do sprinklers a room at a time. And then we're
Alan,
go ahead.
question. This is Chris.
Yeah, go ahead, Chris.
It's kind of like Revit keeps crashing my computer, and it's a brand new computer. So I'm not able to follow you, but I'll look at the recording later. But I'm just letting you know.
I appreciate that, Chris, and I am sort of flabbergasted. I've run Revit for 10 years now, and I can't think of more than 3 times that Revit has crashed. AutoCAD, I remember crashing 3 times a week. So I want to reinforce that for you, Chris. This is something critically wrong. You may need to go back and uninstall and reinstall Revit and then reinstall HydroCAD. It's just an unfamiliar experience for me.
Yeah, I just got a new computer not too long ago, and I installed all the brand new stuff. So I don't know why it's doing that, but I'll revisit it.
Yeah, it should all be good. But like I said, all I'm adding is that's not my experience, and I even haven't heard it very often. If so, I don't want to make you feel bad like you got stuck, but
No, I'm just letting you know because I'm gonna have to watch the recording and
good.
follow you then.
I will keep the recording going, and we'll try and stay on schedule so that the index works out pretty good for you. Thanks, Chris. So we're going to create a ground floor model. We've got a ground floor plan. We're going to use first the Revit insert sprinkler button. And there's a shortcut for it, SK. And there's a ribbon place I can show you where that's at. It's not a HydroCAD button. Revit comes with a thing for inserting sprinklers. When you do insert sprinklers, there's two things: what kind and how high is it? And then you can use your crosshairs to place where. But those are the two things you got to pay a special attention to when you go to put in a sprinkler. What kind is it and how high is it? So over here, I'm on the ground floor plan. I'm going to come in to this long room, and I'm going to stick a sprinkler in this ceiling tile, and I'm going to do it with systems. And in systems, under plumbing and piping is sprinkler, or like I said, you can type SK. And then you got to pay attention to two things. Over here in the properties box, it's planning to put a recessed standard sprinkler in. I'm going to look at what's available to me, and I have one that says pendant recessed. We're going to be very more specific about which pendant recessed in a few minutes, but for right now, I see one in the list. I'm going to pick that. That's the kind. And then the other really important thing is the height. I'm scrolling up to the top, and it says the elevation from the level wants to be 9 feet. And the host is the floor, and the level is a different place to measure from. But when I change one to 9 feet, the other one changes to 9 feet. So I am now planning to put a sprinkler 9 feet above the floor. There is a tool to snap between 2 points, but I think it's just as easy for me to click it on that intersection, and then I'm going to escape. My favorite Revit button, which is my favorite AutoCAD button also. I'm going to click on that sprinkler, and I'm going to say move from any old place. I'm pointing to the left 1 foot. And then I'm going to pick move again, and from any old place, I'm going to point straight up, and I'm going to type 1 foot, just 1, and enter. Okay, I've got that guy in the middle of that tile. Now I'm going to click on it, and I think I've got another slide that says that. I'm going to use copy multiple to put it a bunch of other places. And I can use the lower left-hand corner of that ceiling tile as a reference to the lower left-hand corner of other ceiling tiles. So I'm going to go over here, click on this, and say I'm on the modify ribbon, and there's a modify panel, and I'm clicking on the I'm clicking on the copy button, and that green bar underneath is the options bar. If I had it on constraint, it would be ortho. If I have it on multiple, I don't have to start the command over and over and over. I can just copy one, and then the next one, and then the next one. So I'm going to leave it on multiple. I am not going to leave it on constraint. And I'm going to copy from this lower left-hand corner. I'm getting a dimension, so I can see that it's 14 feet to this corner. And that's 14 feet to that corner. And then I'm going to close in on AutoCAD to find those lines. Sometimes I have to zoom in more than I'm used to. Revit finds them a lot easier. But there's 16 feet, so I can only go 12. And then I'm going to come down here, and I'm going to go 14. And I'm going to come down here and go 12, 14 would put me into that guy. And then 10, there's 12, and now I'm close enough to the end. Okay, you get the idea. You can put a sprinkler in and you can copy it around as much as you want.
Me again. Sorry, everybody. For the
No
sake of trying to follow along here, if I try to click that first sprinkler head, it will only let me click the floor plan. Is there like a draw order, like in the AutoCAD, where I can send this?
I guess I'm not. Explain your only let you pick the.
I can answer this question, Alan, if you would like. You're selecting the model, so if you go in the bottom right-hand corner of Revit, there's a
down here.
Select links. Yeah, make sure that one's selected as Alan's machine. It's red.
Yeah, I had red X's on all of those, which says, I think maybe that's it. I've got red X's on all of those.
Yeah, mine does. Should mine have red X's on all of them?
I'm going to say yes. If you want the behavior I've got, you want it. I
still can't click the sprinkler. Now I can't click the floor plan, but I can't click the sprinkler.
Okay, so let me have you share so that I can guide you a little bit.
I know I keep being the one to hold everybody up here, but
you learn by getting stuff to work, but you also learn even more by seeing how to get stuff that doesn't work to work. So I think we should all be thankful to your experience and your sharing it.
Can you
Good.
see it?
I do.
So I've got them all selected red now, so I can't click the floor plan, but I also can't click on the sprinkler.
Escape. Zoom in a little bit closer to the sprinkler. And you're near it. What happens if you click? Nothing?
Yeah, I'm trying to. It's not.
And tell me what happens. Tell me what happens if you pick a window around it. Okay. I can't explain why you can't pick on it, but it looks like you did. You selected it and then it unselected itself.
Well, no, I deselected it.
Okay.
I was just trying different things there. Yeah, so I can window it and do it. Interesting.
Let's go with that for now. So do the move.
Yeah. Okay. I should be able to catch back up to where you're at now.
I just want to see you start on the.
Oh, okay.
On the, I'll let you.
Sure.
I'll let you go after, but do move. Pick on nothing, and then point north and type 1 and hit enter. And then it's still selected, so pick move again. Pick nothing, point to the right, and 1 and enter.
I put 12. I'm used to entering the market.
Yep, gonna happen.
All right. So okay. So I can't click the node and move it like in the CAD.
You can, and there's something going on, and we're trying to ignore what's going on so that we can keep moving forward.
Understood.
And then it will occur to us later.
Okay.
I do want you to verify for me that the elevation is at. It is. I see it. The sprinkler elevation is at 9 feet.
Yep.
So, just a general life lesson: when you're learning something new, you will discover all kinds of unexpected stuff.
Right.
Go with the flow. If you can't get this to work, get that to work. If you can't get that to work, get something else to work. And then after you're actually using it, you're going to trip over the reason why that first thing didn't work.
Okay.
But if you insist on that first thing working, you'll be stuck forever and never go anywhere.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay, I'm going to take the driving back. Make presenter, yes. And share my screen. And Gerald, I see you joined us. Welcome.
I'm here. Yes.
Good deal. I'm just wondering to myself if there's something I could do to let you join in at this point. You're signed up for watching the video up to this point, but if I just did a save as, and then I put this in this file that I'm working on in the folder that I sent you access to this morning,
Uh-huh.
you could copy that file to your computer, open it up, and pick up where we're at.
I'm already where you're at.
I'm not overly surprised, but congratulations. Thank you.
Yeah,
sir.
thank you. You're welcome.
You bet. So I'm going to go back to the slides. So we pick up where we were. We put one sprinkler in and we moved it into the center of the tile, and then we used select it, copy, multiple, and we put it in a bunch of other center of ceiling tiles. I want to show you another way to get stuff into the center of the ceiling tiles. But first, I want to show you that you're not stuck with the default plain old vanilla recessed pendant head. You have access to thousands and thousands of recessed pendant heads. Everyone except Gerald that I know of right now. He sent me a thing this morning that said this valve selector thing the head selector thing wasn't working for him.
And that was actually in a different drawing. It is actually working. There's got to be something corrupt with
good.
that file. So
yeah. There's a clue, and that fits exactly with what Michael and I were just talking about. If it's not, or James and I, if it's not working for you, go on to the next thing, and you'll gather more clues, and then it'll make sense. So again, not surprised, but delighted to hear that that's working for you. So we're going to use the spacing and layout tool, and in the spacing and layout tool, there's a button to pick from those heads we had, but we can pick from a list of thousands of heads. I'm going to show you how to do that. After we pick a specific recessed pendant, we will change all the ones we did so far to that new selected sprinkler. So over here in Revit, I'm going to go to the HydroCAD ribbon, and I'm going to go to the spacing and layout tool. I'm going to click on spacing and layout, and that brings up a very sophisticated / complicated dialog box. But I'm going to ignore most of it and focus just on this thing that says head data. And I'm going to do a pull down. And this list is the same list, whether you realize it or not, that we saw before in the properties box when we picked sprinkler. But what I'm going to do different is click on this new head from selector. And the new head from selector, if I do the scroll bar, I think you get a sense of there's bunches of them. Yeah.
This is Greg. I got a question for you. My IT department has not installed the software lock yet.
Yes.
A temporary key to use the software.
Yes. If I can send you that like momentarily. I'll scold you for not telling me that this morning or last night or last week. But let me stop sharing for just a minute. Or let me not even bother stop sharing. I'm going to go to my class files. And I'm going to go to 2025 and temporary authorization. And I'm going to dial in Greg.
Yep.
And there's a number for you. I'm going to send that. I'm going to go make sure I've got Outlook open, or I'm going to send it and it's not going to go anywhere. You have the software installed, but not the authorization. So you just have to do the Hydra key and put the temporary number in to get this to go. So open Hydra key and copy and paste this number and you should be good to go. Finish and merge, send email. I think that's on its way to you, Greg.
Okay, how do I open the Hydra key?
If you go to Start and type Hydra key, double click that. Do I speak the truth? If you start typing Hydra key, it shows up.
I don't see. Where's Start?
Start is just push the Windows button
Oh, there it is. Okay.
and then start typing Hydra key. And then double click on it.
Okay.
And then you're going to use this button at the bottom here, Greg, says add new authorization.
Okay. Do I put the number in first?
You pick that button, the add new authorization, and then there's a place that says activation code. That's where you're going to type that
Okay.
code in. And not type, but copy and paste it in. Okay, so I've got spacing and layout, and then I was going to pick on that button that says new head from, and that was going to get me another application open. This one that's being shy now. Where did he go? All right, so Alt Tab. Got it. All right. So I think I left everybody else here.
How did you get to this again?
I'm going to cancel, and escape. I've got nothing up my sleeve, nothing happening in Revit, but I'm in Revit. And then I'm going to pick spacing and layout. And in spacing and layout, right in the middle of the top is a pull down for head data. And I'm going to go to new head from selector. Got it?
Yes, thank you.
Now I'm going to pick a reliable recessed pendant head. So I'm going to go to manufacturer pull down and click on reliable. And then I'm going to go over to type and do the pull down, and I'm going to find recessed pendant. And then I'm going to go over to response, and I'm going to make it quick. And I'm going to go to K factor, and I'm going to make it standard. Now I can dial in one and none of the rest of them, or I can dial in all of them. But having set those things, the manufacturer, the type, and the response, I've got my list down to about 24 instead of 20,000. And the top one on the list is good for light hazard. It's quick response. If I double click on that, it'll open the cut sheet for it. And I can see that is GFR, I think, is the thing that says we're not using a glass bulb. And there's some popularity around glass bulbs. Concern about, let's see. Greg, is that your computer yelling at us?
Yeah, hold on. Sorry.
Is it bad news, or are you making progress there?
I'm making progress.
All right. At any rate, I'm going to go ahead and plan on using that GFR sprinkler, but I opened the cut sheet so I knew what I was getting into. Now I'm going to go to the temperature and make it 165. If it was 155, you'd have a clue that it was a glass bulb. 165 gives you a clue that it's a solder link. And I'm going to use bright brass, I guess. Okay. Also, if I want to come back to this one and use it again in the future, I can click on that yellow star and that'll make it a favorite. Later, if I want a shorter list, I just click on the thing at the top that says favorites and it'll float the favorites to the top of the list, filtered or not. So I'm using that GFR. I'm going back and putting the 165 and the bright brass, and then I'm going to pick select head. And that actually builds a sprinkler off of that thing that has the description and the temperature and finish built into it. That's all that I want to do at this point is select another sprinkler. So I'm going to pick cancel. And then I'm going to, I'm tempted to just click on that sprinkler, but I'm going to pick a window around it like Michael had to. And I'm going to having selected one, I'm going to right click and say select all instances in the project. What the heck? So there's 8 sprinklers that I put in before, and they were all put in as pendant recessed standard. If I do the pull down, I can see now my reliable pendant recessed is in there. I'm going to click on, that's the family name, and then there's any number of types of that family. You have to pick one of the types. I'm going to pick the one type, which is 165 bright brass. And it's not brutally obvious, but if I click on one of those sprinklers now, it tells me it's a reliable sprinkler. That one's a reliable sprinkler. All those ones that I drew before are now reliable sprinklers. Okay, now I'm going to use the spacing and layout tool with that reliable sprinkler to actually lay out sprinklers in rooms rather than just put it in that intersection and that intersection and that intersection. And the 2 most key features there is I want to insert the sprinklers only. So there's a hamburger menu of options where I want to uncheck insert all pipes. Right now I'm just looking for sprinklers. I'll have a place to tell it the height of the sprinkler. I'll have it a chance to tell it the shape of the ceilings, that they're 2 foot by 2 foot ceiling tiles, and that my constraints are 225 square feet. So we're going to fill out this whole dialog box. And then to actually make it go, there's 3 options down here on the bottom. Pick a light, pick a ceiling, or pick 3 points. Because we've got an AutoCAD background, there are no lights in this project and there are no ceilings in this project. There's only lines that make us think about lights and lines that make us think about ceilings. But we'd have to have a Revit background to actually, or a Revit project to actually have lights or ceilings. So we're going to use the pick 3 points. So back here, I'm going to go to spacing and layout. I'm going to go to that hamburger menu and make sure that insert all pipes is off. I'd like it set to continuous spacing, and I don't, this insert branch line I want off also. The rest are not critical, so I want nothing on that one and check mark on the last one. And then I click out of that. I'm going to put in pendants. The shape doesn't matter because I'm only doing the pipes. Over here, though, which family, I should be able to dial in the reliable pendant family. So that's the kind I'm putting in. My ceiling height, I'm going to put at 9 feet. And then if I expand head data here, there's a little triangle to remind us that I should do that. I'm going to say when I put these heads in, I'm planning to calculate them with a light hazard density, usual minimum pressure. I'm going to say, I know I'm not going to go over 14 by 14. I could go to 15 by 15, but since I'm trying to fit into a ceiling tile, I'm just going to say plan on 14 by 14. You're allowed to put the lines as much as 15 feet apart. You're allowed to put the heads as much as 15 feet apart, but these are constraints. They are not the answer. And if it puts a sprinkler in and I don't like where it's at, or I prefer another location, I'm going to move it 2 feet at a time, not that ceiling tile, this one or that one. That's 2 feet at a time. So I'm going to collapse that.
Sorry, on that max coverage, you had 195. Was that supposed to be 196?
Yes, thanks. And I'll go one step further. This is for spacing the sprinklers. This is when it does a hydraulic calculation. I'm telling it, regardless of the actual spacing, maybe it's only 10 by 12. If I put a number in here and I check mark this that says, when I do the calcs, I want you to use 196 square feet. This one says, when you're finding a place to put the sprinklers, don't allow the length by the width to go over 225. So that's a little bit finer definition of what the difference between those two are. And then since I'm not doing the pipes, I'm thinking all of this should be grayed out. This all has to do with piping, and we had turned the piping off. So now here's what I was telling you about. There's pick light, pick grid. We don't have any lights. We don't have any grids. I'm going to pick 3 points. And I'm going to do this big room here by picking the lower left-hand corner, zooming out, picking the upper right-hand corner. And then most important, pick an intersection of 2 grid lines. That's how it knows where the ceiling grids are. And I am sorely disappointed that he's headed for the actual on the ceiling grid thing there. And it's moving 2 feet at a time. I'm going to go back and check what I told it over here.
Mine says pick 2 points is the only other option.
Okay. Up here, there's a thing that says lock to tiles.
Yep.
You want that check marked. If you're not locking to 2 tiles, then you don't need that 3rd point to say where the tiles start.
Okay, thank you.
And I had mistakenly said 2 feet by 4 feet, so it was trying to space stuff in 2 by 4 tiles. I'm going to recontinue, and now it's finding the center of those 2-foot tiles. If I don't like that, for instance, it's going 5 feet from this wall and 7 feet from that wall. If I want to take this whole row of sprinklers and move it down 2 feet, I go over here and click just south of this tick mark, and that moves that whole row 2 feet. If I click left or right of this tick mark, I'm moving that row of sprinklers. If I want to move just one sprinkler, I don't pick near the dimensions, I pick near the sprinkler, and I can move that one sprinkler 2 feet at a time, left or right or up and down. So where it was just fine, but I'm going to say I changed my mind. I want to go 5.7 instead of 7.5. When I'm satisfied with it, I pick the green check mark, and it actually parks them, and because continuous is on, it comes back and asks for 3 points again. And I'm just picking 3 points and saying I'm happy with that. I'm going to treat this hallway like it's a room. And I'm okay with that. And then I'm going to treat this whole hallway as if it's a room. Good, not so good, I'll move it over. Not so good, I'll move it over. 16 feet's not so good, 16 feet's not so good. I'm going to move this all the way back to here. I'll move this one back to here, and I'll stick another sprinkler. I'll treat this thing like a room and put another sprinkler in there. So I lost my green arrow. If I zoom out, I think the green box will come back. But if you lost it, you can also, instead of finding the green box, you can hit escape. And then insert sprinklers is the same as the green box, and revise setup is the same as the red box. So I'm going to pick the insert sprinklers, and then I'm going to pick this as a room here. And that's, well, I've got a baffle between those two, and this one will cover that whole area. I like that. And I'm going to quit there. You can go put, well, I'll do one more. I'll do this hallway. I'm not super critical on the first two, but that last one is what gets me in the center of the tile, so I'm extra careful with it, and then I'm just going to accept that. Okay. Escape, escape, escape. I've given you 2 different ways to lay out individual sprinklers. Just pick one, insert it, copy multiple, or you can do it a room at a time. If we had an AutoCAD, a Revit background, I'd have also, besides pick 3 points, I'd have pick a light or pick a ceiling. Okay, now it says we want to connect those to some pipes.
Sorry, how did you add an additional sprinkler once, like, you were too far away from a wall, you wanted to add one more sprinkler to the grid? Is there a quick way of doing that?
In this particular case, I moved this way too far, and when I was done, it only put these sprinklers in. And I said, okay, but I'm going to treat this thing as if it's another room. And that's where I got that other sprinkler.
Oh.
That's not to say that I couldn't have just, done the best I could with the automatic spacing, and then later come back and clicked on this sprinkler and copied it, to get closer to the wall.
Okay, but with the automatic spacing, it's not like add another sprinkler to the row or anything like that?
No, or anything like that. There sort of is. I haven't used it and been super happy with it, but there is in spacing and layout, maybe in here, add extra sprinklers. So if you check mark that one, add extra sprinklers, then if you pull things away from the wall, you can click near the wall and it'll bring one in from outer space and pull it in. Okay, so now it wants me to do some pipes, unless there's any other questions on sprinklers for now. Okay, so I'm going to use the standard Revit tool for pipes. Shortcut is PI, or I can go to the systems menu, the plumbing and piping panel, and then pick on pipes there. But the important thing is, when you go to do a sprinkler, you need to do 2 things: what type and how high. When you got to do a pipe, there's 4 things: the diameter, the height, the type of pipe, and just check that the system is a fire protection pipe, not a hydronic supply or a plumbing sanitary pipe or something like that. So let me put some pipes in to connect those heads to. I'm going to draw a line down here to connect these heads into, and I'll draw a line down here to connect those heads into, and I'm going to do it by typing PI. And here's the diameter. I'm going to make it 1.25 inches. Here's the height. I'm going to make it 10 feet. And here's the type of pipe. This came from the toolbox. I want lines welded. And the last one is this system type. You just want to make sure that that doesn't say hydronic return or sanitary or something. It should be fire protection something. So those 4 things. Now I'm ready to draw a pipe. So I'm going to draw a pipe right on that grid line. Right on the grid line is not a great idea because there's wires all along there, and our pipe's going to bump into those wires or vice versa. So I'm going to take that pipe, click on it. I'm going to click move, and I'm going to pick any old place, and I'm going to move it down 0.3. So I'm 3 inches off of that grid line. Then I think I'm going to take that pipe and I'm going to copy it. So I'm on the modify ribbon in the modify panel. There's our copy button, or I could type CO. And I'm going to copy it from this intersection of a grid line just south of the sprinkler to this intersection of the grid line just south of that sprinkler. He's being a little bit annoying. And then I'm going to go to just south of this one. And then I'm going to go just south of that one. And I'm out of sprinklers that I need to connect to. That one's long enough. That one's long enough. That one's long enough. This one, the pipe needs to be a little bit longer. If I click on the pipe, I can drag it longer. And I'm just looking. This one, the sprinkler is right on the line, but that sprinkler could be there or there. I'm just going to take that sprinkler and move it up 2 feet. All right, I'm not trying to be like total sprinkler design efficient or accurate here. I'm just trying to give you the exposure to the tools that we're going to be using. And this one I'm going to make just a little bit longer. And this one I'm going to make a little bit longer. And I think I've got pipes now near all of the sprinklers that I drew so far. Let's come back here. Then I can connect the sprinklers by creating another pipe similar to the one that I already drew that goes from the sprinkler to the head. In this case, I'm going to put that arm over pipe. I'm going to put at 10'6". That'll give me an 0'6" rise on this side, and it'll go from 10'6" down to the sprinkler on the sprinkler side. I could just start pipe again and pay attention to those 4 things, or I could get the 4 things kind of started by doing create similar. So if I click on this pipe and I right click, I can say create similar. That's the same as typing PI and making the 1.25" come up automatically from that pipe. In this case, I actually want it 1 inch. It makes the 10 feet come up automatically, but I really want it at 10'6". And it makes the type of pipe say lines welded. I want to make it arms to welded lines. And now if I go from the sprinkler to the pipe, and from the sprinkler to the pipe, and from the sprinkler to the pipe, I'm going to confirm what we were just doing. If I pick a window around one of those sprinklers, the modify ribbon comes up, and on the modify ribbon in the middle is a view panel, and right above that is a thing called selection box that makes a 3D view of what you've selected. Or I could just select it and hit BX. And in here, if I hold the shift button down and I push on the wheel, I can rotate that thing. And if I do this, I'll see a problem. You might have to squint a little bit to see this problem. Also, there's a button at the top here called Thin Lines that says draw this thing with crayons or draw it with 4H lead. Now in Thin Lines, it's even a little bit more obvious. This is a really skinny pipe. If I click on that pipe, I notice that it's 1/2 inch, and I would need to change it to 1 inch. It drew that pipe automatically, and Revit is just a little bit dumb. It says if I'm connecting a pipe to a sprinkler, cool, I just connect the pipe to the sprinkler. And since the sprinkler is a 1/2 inch outlet, I'll draw a 1/2 inch pipe. They didn't get the memo about needing a fitting to screw the sprinkler into. They thought you could screw the sprinkler right into a pipe. Now that would be annoying to have to go look at every one of those to change them from 1/2 inch to 1 inch. And in fact, there's no need for it to be that annoying. If you did a whole bunch of these, when you're all doing a whole bunch of those, well done doing a whole bunch, you can go to the schedules. And in the schedules, in the project browser, I opened up schedules. There's one that says pipe type, or I'm sorry, pipe size and type. So I'm going to open up that schedule. And it said, a minute ago, it said there were 3 1/2 inch pipes. They're arm overs to welded lines. Just go ahead, do the whole project. When you're all done, check the pipe schedule and say, there's no 1/2 inch pipes. There's no crying in baseball. There's no 1/2 inch pipes in sprinklers. So I'm going to pick 1 inch, and now I just fixed all of those. And then I can close the schedule. All right, so that's using create similar or using pipe command to create those return bins. You will notice when you draw a pipe at 2 different elevations, it puts the up and down pipe in for us. That includes the drop and the return bend. So that's pretty cool. However, we got even cooler than that
there's a Hydratech button right under the spacing and layout that says take those heads and connect them to that. Take those heads and connect them to that pipe. And I can connect them up over and down, over and down, straight down, or straight off of the pipe. I'm going to do a couple of up, over, and downs. I'm going to do a couple of down, over, and downs. And I'm going to do some with hard pipe, and I'm going to do some with flexible connections. So hang on, here we go. Back to Revit. And let's see, I'm going to take these and make them up, over, and downs. I'm going to take these and make them down, over, and downs. I'm going to take these and make them up, over, and downs with flex connections, and I'll make these over and downs with flex connections. So we're going to go to the HydroCAD ribbon. The spacing and layout button has a sister called Configure Head. This dialog box is very much like the spacing and layout dialog box, but it's missing that spacing, the head definition, because the heads already exist. And I'm going to start by going up, over, and down. I'm going to use arms to welded lines, 1-inch pipe going up 6, going over. I'm not check marking flex, so it's going to be hard pipe. And I'm going to do continuous. So I'm going to connect heads, these two heads, to that one. Then I'm going to hit escape and start the command over again. And I'm going to change it to down, over, and down. And I'll go down 6 inches. I'm at 10. It's at 6. So 6 inches will be halfway in between. And then I'll connect heads. And I'm going to connect those heads to that guy. Then I'm going to escape and start the command again. And I'm going to do up, over, and down, but I'm going to use a flexible sprinkler connection, FSC, with a bracket. And I'm going to do flex only. And then I'm going to connect these heads to that guy. And I don't know why I didn't see the bracket. I think I'm going to do undo. That looks like hard pipe to me. Control Z. Control Z. It's taking them out one at a time, but they're all gone now. Then I'm going to go back to configure head. I think I picked flex only, but I had to pick flex to get it to use that. All right. I'm going to connect those heads. So this is up, over, and down using flex with brackets. And a little bit of experience will let you recognize, like I did right away. I was looking for those brackets and I didn't see them, so I knew that it didn't do what I wanted. Now these I'm going to do over and down. And I'm going to make the flex be 2 feet. So I think I'm going to wind up with a coupling halfway here. Most of these I think we'll make it within 2 feet, but this one will go to a coupling and then tie in. So I'm going to escape. I'm going to go back to configure head, and I'm going to change this to 2 feet. And I'm going to change this to over and down, connect heads, connect these guys into that one. And there's 1 foot up, 1 foot over, and then a coupling, 1 foot up, 1 foot over, and it didn't quite make it, so it put in a coupling. I could do that over with 2'6" and get a coupling only on this one and complete on those ones. But I've shown you a whole variety of ways that you can use configure head to connect those heads to those branch lines.
Hey, Alan, I don't have that configure head option.
I'm thinking you probably do when it's hiding. Let's just check. Escape, escape, escape. Your menu probably shows spacing and layout, and there's a little down arrow,
Okay.
and underneath that is the configure head.
And you have to select the head first and then go to that?
No, because we already spaced the sprinklers, so the heads are already there.
You
right?
don't.
It's
You have to select the head first before hitting configure head.
no, you pick it. The order is this: you pick it, you define the configuration, and then you pick, and you define the configuration, and then you do change configuration, connect head, connect to outlet, or disconnect head. I'm going to pick disconnect heads and undo these guys. So I connected, I'm using the same configure head to disconnect heads. And now I'm going to go back and use 2'6" instead of 2 feet. So I'm going to go to configure head, and I'm going to change this to 2'6". And I'm going to do connect head.
Okay.
And I'll connect those heads to this guy. Now, these ones still have the couplings, but I could, if I said, oh, that should have been 2'6" instead of 2 feet, then I can go to configure head. I've got the 2'6", and I'm going to say change configuration and just pick those heads. And now they're at.
Real quick, could you tell me, like, the sprinkler head, is that a family, or is that? I'm trying to Google why I can't click it because none of these commands are working for me.
But picking a window still gets them. It's
Yeah, but the commands won't work. It just. So is that an element or an object or a family?
it's a family, but Google's going to be. I'm going to say we've hidden as much of our documentation as we can from Google. That's
Yeah,
our.
I just figured it was something kind of generic Revit.
Yeah, that's a fair estimate or guess, James. I would like just to make sure that if I was pushing the buttons, it wouldn't be working for me either. Or maybe you've got a clever way to push the buttons. So let me have you share your screen, James.
Okay.
And then at the end of class, if we can't figure it out, we won't just get stuck here forever. But if we can't figure it out, I'll probably want you to send me your file and see if I can get the same problem on mine. So slow down for me a second. I want to absorb this. So you're going to go up, over, and down. You're going to use arm overs to welded lines, 1-inch pipe. You're going up 6. We're doing hard pipe. That's good. And now where you pick, it says choose action.
Yep.
Do the pull down in there. And I don't see the pull down. Maybe it went somewhere else, but you got to pick connect head out of that pull down.
Okay. Want me to go ahead and do this?
I guess you stopped sharing somehow for some reason, but try it there. Maybe it's that you weren't doing that button. Nope. Let me have you share again. Okay, you're sharing. So we're just going to do escape, 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 and then configure head. I don't see the dialog box. When you're sharing your screen, are you sharing Revit?
Yeah, trying to.
No, James.
Yeah.
That's a meeting anomaly. I don't want you to share Revit. I want you to share your screen. Because Revit is like 4 programs. The dialog box is 1 program and the screen is another program. So
Understood.
when you pick,
I think I got that figured out now.
Good. And now it does say connect head. So you're going to pick that. Then pick a window, good, and then pick the pipe. I see. It's not letting you pick the pipe.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the ways. If I try it the other way, with one of the other options other than connect head, it lets me select the head, but then when I go to select the pipe, it deselects the head.
So there's something, there is a setting that's this is more clues. That's what I was looking for. But there's a setting that's not letting you pick objects. And I haven't tripped over that one before, Mike. or James. Sorry.
Sorry.
Let me share my screen again and just take a quick guess at where that setting might be.
What I was seeing a lot on the Googles
Yeah.
is exclude options box, but I was not able to find an exclude options box on my on my screen here. It was showing down on the corner. But.
I'm going to go to File, Options, and User Interface. Tools, enable recent switching, visual, use hardware graphics. Which version of Revit are you using?
This is on 2025.
2025, okay.
Yep.
Rendering, checking, steering, view cube, macros. Seems like it would be in here. Double click options, tooltip options, enable recent. Can you just look in this place and tell me all those things are checked? I don't have time to read them all.
Yeah, I've got everything but infrastructure tools. I don't see your screen right now, but I've got everything except for infrastructure tools.
Okay. And that's what I have. That's what I have. All right. My apologies to sort of throw you over the side here.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Totally understand.
But
not to patronize. Have you tried just closing and reopening Revit? Assume you've done that.
Not by choice. I did have it closed out by itself one time since I've had this problem and did not fix it. But I have restarted it since the initial discovery of not being able to select them.
Okay. So can't pick one object. All right. James, we'll get back to that.
Okay, thank you.
So I'm not sharing my screen yet, but I'm gonna do that. And I am gonna come back here and use spacing and layout in various rooms. So far we put sprinklers in and we put pipes in and then we connected them. The spacing and layout tool can also be used for putting heads and pipes and fittings in all at the same time. And I think I'm going to do that over in the offices at the top here that I didn't do before. So just to show you that other feature up here, these offices I'm going to do with pipes and fittings and sprinklers all at the same time. So I'm going to go back to the HydroCAD ribbon and spacing and layout. And I'm going to do up, over, and down hard pipe. So I'm getting rid of the flex length. I'm going to make 0. I'm still using recessed pendants, but I have to re-click insert all pipes. And you see this preview change to show the branch line and the arm over. And the arm over is coming from this length, and the rise is coming from this length, and the pipe height is coming from this height above the floor. The sprinklers are at 9 feet. Nothing in here should have changed, so I'm leaving that all the same. The rest of this we went over before. This one we didn't look at. I just want to make sure it's not trying to slope the pipe. And with all of that set, I'm going to go back to 3 points and click lower left, upper right, click on a ceiling. Now, I had checked the extra heads, and you see these guys floating around the outside? So if I come in here, I can pull that extra head into the plan. Now it looks like I can't get them out of here. I got them out. So they're sort of waiting in the wings in case I need extra heads. Then I'm going to pick OK. And the difference here is I got to be careful that I pick the actual window. That I get that guy, and then I'm going to do the next room that needs a couple of heads. And I'm going to go X or red, and then come up here and get rid of the add extra heads. And now it's just showing the heads in this room. I'm going to move that down 2 feet, go ahead and put them in, and then one last room, and I'll quit here. The AutoCAD background is a little bit fussier than the Revit background, just because it doesn't know what a ceiling is or what a light is. It's just a bunch of lines. Then I'm going to escape, escape, escape. I'm going to see that I messed this one up, so I'm clicking on that sprinkler, and I'm going to move it from one end of the light to the other end of the light. I wasn't paying attention when I did that before, so I'm fixing it up now. This is a cool thing about Revit. I moved the sprinkler. Any pipe in line with the sprinkler is going to move with the sprinkler. Any pipe perpendicular to that bunch will get longer or shorter. And the only major constraint, the thing that'll screw you up every time, is if it's going to make a pipe shorter and that pipe eventually gets to be less than 0, it complains. It says, I can't do that. So I'm making this pipe short, and I'm going to try and move this sprinkler over here. And it says, no, you can't do that. I think of it as trying to bend your fingers backwards. Your fingers bend one way, but they won't go the other way. So it'll make it longer or shorter, but not shorter than 0. When you do this, you're stuck with, or you have the added requirement of putting the pipes that are created within the rooms back together from room to room. So that winds up in the same place as if we had done the heads, and then we did the pipes, and we did connect pipes.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I'm confused on what you did differently to make the pipe show as well, or get inserted versus just the previous.
Okay. Yep. So when I started the spacing and layout tool, I went back to the hamburger menu.
That's what I missed. Okay. And you hit insert all pipes.
Right. And I had put add extra heads before. I took that off.
And then pipe branch line, you did 1.25. I don't have that option.
Yeah. And the arm over, I had 1 inch. So this is the branch line. But down here, this is the connecting pipe. The connecting pipe is the arm over and the drop. And that was set to 1 inch. So yeah, in this case, these are the branch lines, and they're lines welded. These are the connecting pipes, and the connecting pipes are arms to welded lines.
Thank you.
Okay. So we're going to create a main. And I could do create similar, or I could do PI for pipe. In either case, I got to pay attention to 4 things: diameter, height, type, and system. And we're going to make it 3 inch at 10 feet, and it'll be mains welded, and it'll still be part of the fire protection system. And I can draw that at 10 feet, 10 feet. And when I got lost. I dragged something. Okay, I was trying to zoom on a PowerPoint slide and it went crazy. When I get to the stairwell and I want to go down the stairwell, I'll be at 10 feet. Then I'm going to change to minus or to 2 feet. Then I'll be at the riser manifold level. And then when I go to the underground, I'll go to minus 5 feet or minus 7 feet or something, and it'll get me underground pipe. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to start by typing PI. Anytime it asks me to save, I am happy to save. I'm not good about doing it, but it does remind me, and it's good. I take advantage of that. All right, now I'm going to change 4 things. Size, 3-inch. Height, 10 feet. Type, mains welded. And system, fire protection wet. And then I'm going to start in this hallway, and I'm going to come down the hallway like so. I'm going to hit escape because I don't want to keep drawing from there. And then I'm going to draw from the pipe in the hallway into this fire sprinkler room. Then I'm going to change the height to 2 feet. And I'm going to come across at 2 feet. I'm going to change the diameter to 4-inch and come across the back wall here. And then I'm going to change the diameter to 6-inch. And I'm going to change the height to -5. And I'm going to change the type of pipe to underground. And that last pipe that I drew, I see the elbow got created, but I don't see the pipe. I see that it's sort of drawing from where I left off. Tom, why do you suppose I can't see that last pipe that I drew?
Is it because we had set our cut plane to 0 instead of -5?
Yes, that we said we only, in this view, we only want to see stuff between 0 and 13 feet. There is a way to say, but let me take a look at the stuff that's even lower than 0. And now that's lower than 0, but it's showing up because I said, show me what's beyond 0. That'd be kind of annoying if I did that on the second floor, because I'd be seeing all the ground floor piping. Also, while I'm at it, I'm going to take this pipe and make it 4-inch. So I've got like a 4-inch riser manifold, and then I've got a 3-inch riser coming off of that. And this is going to be 6-inch underground, and I probably want to switch like just inside the building. We'll get back to that later. But we now have piping for our system. Here's another one of those places where I would be happier if that sprinkler was moved over 2 feet, and there's nothing stopping me from do that. This one, I'm going to do the same thing, but I think I'm going to do it this way. Or I could take this elbow and move it 2 feet. The flex drop is, the purpose of a flex drop is it can go anywhere. And I don't have any other complaints about that stuff. All right. Then it says clean up, and I've got like 3 different ways to clean stuff up. If I've got welded lines or welded mains, I just want to extend 6 inches and put a cap. If I've got threaded lines, I don't think I have any here, but if I had threaded lines, I want to get rid of the extra pipe on the end and turn that T into an elbow. And if I have lines and mains that aren't connected to each other, I can use the connect pipes to connect those lines to the mains. There's not enough of them here that I can't also get away with just dragging them onto each other. All right, so this is an example of I want to go 6 inches and put a cap. I'm clicking on it, and I'm clicking this button to say make it 6 inches and put a cap on it. This one I want to just plain get rid of. So I'm going to click on delete pipe and click on that pipe. It deletes the pipe and fixes the fitting. That's the one I would use on threaded branch lines also, but you see the function there. Then these lines, I want to make 6 inches to a cap. So I'm going to go back to click on that pipe and click on make it 6 inches to a cap. Click on this pipe. So I'm going to hit Control, select that pipe, Control, select that pipe, Control, select, oops, this one I forgot to connect those heads, those two anyway. So I'm going to sneak back to connect head, configure head, over with flexes. That should be fine, not change, but connect head. I'm going to connect those in. If I had said make it 6 inches to a cap, that whole pipe would come way back to here. All right, so I'm going to take that pipe, Control click to get that pipe, also Control to add that pipe, Control to add that pipe. I've selected all of those pipes, and now if I pick the cap open ends, it makes all of them 6 inches to that cap. This one didn't connect, and this one didn't connect, and this one didn't connect, but those ones did. So I want to connect these lines into that main. I'm going to do just one. If I take just this one and I drag it onto that main, it knows to put a groovelet there and break the main up. And I could go make that 6 inches to a cap. Okay, but I just wanted to show you one other one. There's a tool that says connect pipes, and I want to extend the pipe into the side of the main. And if they're not at the same elevation, I don't want to put a riser nipple. I want to go make them be the same elevation. So I'm going to change the line to the height of the main and then connect it in. So I'm clicking that, and I have to pick the pipe to connect into. I'm connecting into the main, and I'm connecting that line and that line, and then I have to pick finish. So if I had just dragged it onto it, it would have cut it in, and that would have been fine. But if I had like a whole grid and I wanted to connect that whole grid in, then this would be a faster way. Okay, I think that gets me some of the clean up the loose ends 3 different ways. Cap open ends by making it 6 inches. That underground needs to be capped also, but not at 6 inches. If I just click on that, there's a Revit. This is the Hydratech cap open ends where you set the length and put the cap on. The Revit one just caps the end. All right.
Alan?
Yep.
For the gentleman who's having trouble selecting items, I've been doing a little bit of research because someone helped me with that recently, and I don't recall the details, but does that possibly have something to do with the discipline selection?
Huh.
I think you might know more about that than I do, but I believe there was
Yeah.
something in that that was to fix for it. I don't recall
So
exactly.
discipline selection. Is there a setting for that, Nathan?
There isn't a properties. If you don't have anything selected in your view, under graphics, you can choose discipline, and it can be set to architectural, which changes some things, or you could set it to mechanical and so on. And I think there's something else somewhere as well.
If the view was a architectural view, is it possible you couldn't pick a pipe?
Or if he's set into mode as if he were an architect and looking at a mechanical view.
Yeah.
But either one could affect it.
I'm going to write discipline down and add that to our research. That's very helpful.
I hope that helps. Sorry.
And
Thank you.
may be the answer and may not, but just to take advantage of what Nathan was just telling us, here's the ground floor view, and the ground floor view has properties that we set some of. We set the view range and we cropped it, but there's a discipline. This is the subdiscipline. Here's the discipline is coordination. And if that were set to architectural, conceivably, yeah, now that I set it to architectural, my pipes disappeared. So maybe that's not, maybe that's a culprit, but a culprit for a different problem.
I don't believe it was that settings was the specific problem, but there was something else that was along those lines that had to do with the discipline where
Yeah,
I had managed to get myself into the wrong mode and I couldn't select things properly in a coordination model.
good. I will continue. I'll
I apologize. I don't have better information on that.
no, thank you for that. It's an important clue, and we will track it down. So a lot of that, there's a lot of settings for all of the views, and I've skipped this so far. We'll use it some more later, but all of these settings can be stored in a view template, and a lot of times you can, and that's maybe even worth a try. James, it was you not being able to pick on that pipe or not being able to pick the sprinkler.
Correct.
Let me have you go to the view template and pick on, for that view, click on view template and change it to FP working.
View range, is that what you selected?
No, here's the properties for the ground floor view.
Yep.
And under identity data,
Oh,
the
yep,
first
yep.
one is view template.
Yep.
And if you click on working floor plan, that sets the discipline and the sub-discipline and a whole mess of other things. This is a list of all the things that get set by that.
Yep.
Kind of like a layer restore or a layer set, but for way more settings than just layers. And if I'm going to go ahead and click on that, I think when I do, I should pay attention either to the view range to reset it in the view template, and or don't apply the view range because we already did that. And then I'm going to uncheck just that one and then double check that I can still pick sprinklers. If you uncheck that one and then try and pick sprinklers, does it work or not?
So you didn't click apply, should I have?
I didn't have to, because every dialog box that has an OK and an apply, this is a Windows thing. Apply
Okay.
says set all these settings and leave the dialog box
Right.
open.
Right. Okay, so I
Okay.
did that, it did not help.
Okay. All right. Well, we will go do battle with that later.
Okay, thank you.
So what? We did this stuff, and now I want to show it to you in 3D. And I showed you this briefly before. We'll do it again now. I'm going to select the window around all this stuff. Pick a big old window around everything I've worked on the ground floor, and then that brings up the modify ribbon. And in the view panel is a button that says selection box. And I could just type BX to get this. And there's a 3D view. And I'll remind you, in the 3D view, if you hold the shift button down and you push down on the wheel and then move around, you can orbit that. If you click a single object first and then hold shift and push the wheel, it rotates about that object. Sometimes there's some stuff way out in space, and when you go to rotate, it feels like it's going crazy. But if you select a single object, shift, wheel, it'll rotate about that object and won't feel so crazy. And so there's some of our flex connections going over and down. There's a flex connection going up over and down. There's a hard pipe going down over and down, and a hard pipe going up over and down. And there's our underground and all that good stuff. So I'm going to leave that at that. And then we're going to use, we're going to go decorate the riser a little bit. And it's 12:49, and I think I'm going to adjust our expectations. I fully expect we can get through the green stuff, and that'll be a legitimate stopping point for today. So we're not going to go way over time, but we'll pick up doing the Revit background on Thursday. So we're going to add valves into our riser. And when you add valves in, this is the summary of that operation. Route the piping the way you want it. Fa la 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 la. Break the valves in with that device. Fa la 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 la. Add your couplings between the valves then. Fa la 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 la. Clean up gaps with delete pipe. Ultimately, fa la 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 la. All right, that needs some work, but it summarizes this process. Draw the pipes, leave lots of room. Then we're going to use the add device tool, and that'll create the valves that we want. And the valves will take a bite out of the pipe and park themselves. Do not try and put the valves next to each other. Put them in the right sequence, in the right order, but leave lots of room. Then put in whatever couplings you need to connect those valves to each other. Leave lots of room. Then you'll have everything that you need. It'll just be all spread apart. And we're going to ultimately use delete pipes. That's a Hydrotech command that'll close up the gaps between those things. So if you follow this basic overall plan, it'll all go smoothly. If you insist on putting this valve and then putting that valve on top of that valve and then putting that coupling on top of that valve, like you did in AutoCAD, then everything will go sideways. So I'm going to I tell you now, I show you later. Here comes later. We're going to start by putting a backflow on that pipe across the back of the valve room there. We're going to use add device, and there's two major ways to use the add device tool. There's a table of thousands of fittings, and there's a tree view of thousands of fittings. I'm going to use the tree view. You will note that just like the head selector, you can filter by manufacturer, filter by end prep, and filter by type of fitting. When you select a given fitting, it'll show up on the right panel. If it shows up shaded in pink or red, that means we know about that, but we haven't created a model for it yet. If it shows up in blue, that means we know that part number and we have a cut sheet for it, and we have a model for it that you can put in your project. And all selections create pipe accessories. I don't want to get too wound up in this, but a sprinkler system is made up of 5 different kinds of things. Pipe is different from fittings. Fittings are different from sprinklers. Sprinklers are different from valves, and valves are different from pumps. Those are, and they line up. Those are kind of sprinkler words, but those line up with the Revit types of objects, categories. Pipes are pipes, sprinklers are sprinklers, fittings are pipe fittings, valves are pipe accessories, and pumps are mechanical equipment. They have different behaviors, they have different shapes, and that's why they have those different categories. All of the valves are pipe accessories, and the way they're intended to work is take a bite out of the pipe and park themselves in the space that they made. Okay, so let me back up. I'm going to go do that backflow preventer. And over here, I'm going to go back to the plan view, and I'm going to say on the ground floor. Over here, I want to put a 4-inch Wilkins 350A backflow preventer. So I'm going to go to HydroCAD, add device, or I'm going to type AD. That opens the valve selector. And the very first time you use it, takes just a little bit to go collect information about all those thousands and thousands of valves. And then here's the table view, and here's the tree view. And I just find it a little bit more convenient to use the tree view. I'm going to go open up backflows. I'm going to open up double check. I'm going to open up groove, 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 and I'm going to pick on Wilkins. And then I'm going to make this dialog box bigger. And I'm going to scroll down to 350A. groove, 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 and it's blue, meaning we have a picture or a model for it. And if you scroll down here, there's a preview of it. And if you make this big enough, you can always have that preview available. Or if you click the preview, you can even drag this out. And then if I go back to information and click through these, I'll get different previews for the different valves. Now, I want this 350A and I want a 4-inch one. If I want to double check the cut sheet, I pick on data sheet. If there's sheets have changed over time, we always put the most recent one on the bottom of the list. Download lets me open it. And this is the most recent cut sheet that we found for the Wilkins 350A. Okay, I'm going to cancel that, and I'm going to pick select, and that goes and actually builds that model. I've got a lot of pipe there, and I may want to put this thing right up against here, but the idea is go find as much pipe as you can and click near the middle of it so that you've got lots of room. And it took a bite out of the pipe, not exactly where I clicked it, but pretty close. I just hit escape, and that got me back here, which I'm going to minimize for now. The thing got added in. If I click on it, I don't know if this is good news or bad news. I'm trying to click on it, and it's not clicking. So, James, I'm down in the hole that you're in. And maybe it's the same hole, maybe it's not. But for now, I'm going to go pick a window around that to select that thing. When I do, this two-way arrow will flip it end for end. Studying the cut sheet, I know this blobby thing is on the downstream, so it's in the right direction. And then clicking this one will spin it about this connector. Clicking this one will spin it about this connector. And I think I've got the valves on the top. Regretfully, the handles are in the back. Can I click that one more time? I can't. I have to pick it that way. No. Okay. So now I've got the clean out on the top. That's the way I want that valve. Okay. I've got lots of room. I'm going to go on. So that's the backflow. I want to go put a riser valve and a butterfly valve. And to do that, I'm going to create a section, and I'm just going to talk about sections a little bit more specifically this time. So I'm going to create a section by quick access toolbar, the section bubble, click 2 lines, and that creates a line. The line is, I picked left to right, it's pointing up. If I had picked right to left, it would be pointing down. In either case, there's a two-way arrow hiding somewhere here. If somebody sees it, call it out. Here it is. It's hiding over here. So that two-way arrow will make it point in the opposite direction. Then there's this thing to decide how wide the view is, and this thing to decide how deep the view is. Then what I didn't show you before is that this recycle arrow over here will turn the bubble into a tail. And if you click it again, it'll turn it into nothing. And if you click it again, it goes back to a bubble. So you could have a bubble at both ends. You could have nothing at both ends. You could have a tail at both ends. I'm going to put nothing on this side. Then you've also got the chance to adjust the line itself. That doesn't adjust the view, just the line. If I wanted to show the tail, but I don't want the line going through my room, this little squiggle in the middle breaks the line into 2 pieces, and you can show the section line at its start and end, but Don't have it go through the whole drawing. So that's most of what you need to know about a section. I already taught you the 3 ways to go view that section. I'm going to go use this one. I'm going to take and get rid of this elbow just by erasing it. I'm going to take this pipe that's 4 inch and make it longer. I'm going to take this pipe that's 3 inch and drag it in and get a groovelet. And then I'm going to take this pipe and make it 6 inches long with a cap. So I'm building my riser manifold. Now I want to put a 3 inch butterfly valve in here. I'm going to type AD. I'm going to go collapse the backflows, and I'm going to pick up other valves, and I'm going to find a butterfly with tamper. I'm going to go to groove and pick Victaulic. And I'll get a 4 inch one. No, I want a 3 inch one, and I'm going to select that. And I'm going to leave lots of room. And it broke into the pipe. I hit escape, and I think I'm going to take advantage of that. It's on there, and I can move it around later. I'm going to collapse other valves. I'm going to go to risers. I'm going to use a commercial riser, grooved, reliable, and this one goes in. This one's red, so I'm not going to bother with it. This one's blue, and I need a 3 inch one. And then I'm going to select that. And it's building it and waiting for me to cut it in on the pipe. And even though it doesn't look properly lined up, if you click on the pipe, it'll break into the pipe. And now I'm going to dismiss the add device thing. I've got the valves that I wanted. I'm going to spin this. That much should be enough. I'm going to spin this again. There, so I can use my right hand to turn the valve, and I can see the indicator. I like that. Remember, route the piping, put in the valves, add the couplings, and then clean it up. So just before I add the couplings, I'm going to take this thing and make sure that it's, oh my gosh, what a good shot. I'm going to make it at 4 feet. So that valve's at 4 feet. I'll move everything else to match up with that. Then I'm going to use CP, or coupling, manual coupling, to put a coupling up there, to put a coupling between. I'm leaving lots of room, and a coupling there. Escape, escape, escape. And then I'm going to use delete pipe. And there are 2 ways to delete pipe. You can click on a pipe, whichever end you pick on the pipe, that end, the fitting at that end will stay. The pipe's going away and the other fitting will come to meet it. So I'm going to do that. The other way is to pick on a fitting and then pick on another fitting, a fitting or a valve. And the first one you pick will stay and the other one will move to it. The pipe in between will delete. So pick the coupling, pick the riser check, the pipe between goes away and the coupling stays put. This is a nice long pipe. I'm just going to pick near the bottom half of it and the coupling will move down. And I just need to do that one more time in this view. I'm going to put a coupling on you. Well, let's see. I think I'm going to attempt. So this view is giving me trouble. So I'm happy about that. I'm going to change that fitting to 4 inch. And he couldn't find an elbow. He didn't do it. I'll worry about him later. I'm just going to, well, I'm going to put a coupling on this end, but I'm going to take this end and put it right up against that elbow. So I need to go to couplings, manual coupling on this end, manual coupling, add coupling manually. Now that pipe's giving me trouble. All right, I'm going to leave that alone and come back and figure out what's going on there. That might be the answer to James' problem. I could do delete pipe and get rid of this one. Delete pipe, click on that. Oh, I can't pick the pipe either. Can I pick the fitting? No, I can't pick the fitting either. Good, I'm leaving that one alone. So add sprinkler valves, we did that. Use split element or use CP manual couplings to put in the necessary couplings in between, and then use delete pipe. And delete pipe can be pick on a pipe, it'll get rid of that pipe and move everything to the end nearest you picked. Or you can pick one valve and then another valve. The first valve will stay put and the other one will move, and the pipe between them will go away.
I do have a quick note on mine. I can, if I'm in a 3D
Yes?
view, I can select everything as normal.
And when I'm in a section view, I'm selecting normal. When I'm in that ground view, I'm having that problem. So that's a good clue. It seems to be view related somehow.
Right.
Okay, so we get a little bit of a head start here. It says start a second floor model. We did that before, and then switch to the second floor. I can do that already because we created that copy of the ground floor, and then we created a ground floor and a second floor view. I'm going to save this. And earlier, I inserted that second floor view and convinced myself by looking at the 3D. You see, I've got a flat as a pancake at 100, and I've got a different flat as a pancake at 113. And so my second floor view has a view range from second floor to 13'4" above the second floor. So on the second floor, I see the second floor plan, and on the ground floor, I see the ground floor plan. That's good stuff. We already linked the CAD. We didn't say current view only, so I was seeing in the 3D view. I could go add some sprinklers and I could go add some pipes. But all I want to do here is show you that if I draw pipes on the second floor, they show up on the second floor. If I draw sprinklers on the second floor, they show up on the second floor. So I'm going to kind of skip these steps, do them on Thursday. However, I will create a main just so that we see some piping on the second floor, and I'll route it down to the first floor, and then we'll call it quits there, I think. So I'm going to go Revit, and I'm going to type PI for pipe. I'm going to do my 4 things. I'm going to make it 3-inch. I can't get to 3-inch because the type right now says underground, and that doesn't go down to 3-inch. So I'm going to make it mains welded. Then I should be able to get to 3-inch. I can make this at 10 feet. And the system type is wet. Those are my 4 things. And I'm going to draw a main down this hallway. And I'm going to come off of the main into the stairwell. And I'm going to change the elevation to minus 2 feet. So it'll be below the second floor. And again, that last pipe disappeared, but I see the elbow going down there. If we checked our 3D view again, here's that main we just drew on the second floor. Here it's going down to 2 feet below. There's the second floor, and if I go back to the ground floor view, there's that pipe that just came down from the second floor. I could continue it, create similar over here, and tie it into our riser manifold. And then our section would show the riser manifold we built before plus this one. And I don't know how fancy I want to get. I'm gonna deal with that on Thursday. I'm not gonna hold you guys for that. Okay, so we're switching to pink. I'll add these pink slides to Thursday's lesson. we're going to sort of rewind. I'm going to get rid of the backgrounds. We'll keep our sprinkler system, but we'll get rid of the backgrounds and check out the Revit architectural link, check out the Revit mechanical link, and we'll put those in. And then the sections will just automatically have building in them because I've got an actual 3D background instead of these 2D things. And we'll talk about what it takes to start a project using a Revit background. And then we'll go on to documenting it, creating plan views, ceiling views, section views, site plan, all that stuff. We'll do that on Thursday. I think I can skip ahead. I probably have to roll forward a bunch, but I'm going to skip ahead to the question and answer slide. There. So, any other questions?
Is this recording available right away?
No, it'll be later tonight. It gets recorded in the cloud and it's got to get converted to an MP4. That takes a couple hours. But just as soon as I see it, I'll post it to the same folder where the class lessons were this morning.
All right. Thank you, Alan.
You bet. Anyone else? Very good. Well, thank you all so much. Sorry for going over a little bit, but we're off to a great start, and I think we have a good model to work with. I'll send you a copy of this drawing, and I'll send you I'll send you the recording and the index to the recording, so that if you want to know when did we cover this, look at that index, and you'll know what time to scrub over in the recording. And then I'll send out Wednesday night or early Thursday morning our starting place for the next class, and I'll look forward to seeing you then. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Alan. Have a good night.
Promise. You too.